and welcome back to another Nextlander podcast. Here we are in the middle of April. We are now post-tax day here, or you're extended, or you don't pay taxes for one reason or another. Who can say? I can't say. Alex Navarro, how are you doing?
I pay taxes.
You do?
I do. So that should tell you how I'm doing.
Well, look, maybe you're getting a refund. Maybe the government said, you know what? You gave us a little too much.
You know, I think I ended up in a position this year where at least I don't owe anything, so I'm going to take that as a win.
That's how the system, in some regards, that's how the system should work. You put in what you're supposed to put in.
I didn't take you for a statist.
Paying
your taxes.
Uh-huh.
Thought you were not a free man on the land.
No.
That's right.
No.
Not even remotely.
Can I tell you the good word about gold fringe?
Yes. Tell me how your Brad Shoemaker, how is gold fringe?
I can't even, I'm not even going to keep that up for
Is that a Bond villain? What's a gold fringe?
Sure. Well, the stupidest Bond villain ever to live, yes.
Look.
If you consider a sovereign citizen to be a Bond villain tier.
I refuse, when I walk outside, I refuse to use the roads, or I burn my own trash.
Yes.
And
those roads are owned by the Corporation of the United States of America.
That's right. I only ride on PepsiCo branded roads.
You guys are doing great. I can tell.
No, I'm fine. I'm great. I'm fantastic. Kirby got back from his allergy tests. And
how is the old Curb doing?
He got a big old shave patch on his stomach, which he came back with like a little kerchief on too. I don't know. That's what they do. Give him a little branded kerchief. Turns out feathers, not a thing I thought even a person could be allergic to. Mixed feathers. So they said, "Do you have a down comforter on your bed?" And we said, "Absolutely, we do." And they said, "Well, you should probably get that down comforter off your bed." And I said, it's either the dog or the comforter, huh?
I mean, look, this is a tough choice. I understand. Could you get a non-down comforter?
We could probably get a non. There are plenty of other, as my wife said, there are plenty of other types of blankets in the world. And I said, I really do like that down comforter, though. And I said, I kept pestering my poor wife, who was the one who went to this appointment. And I said, "What do you mean What do you mean feathers? Like, what do you, like touching a feather? Like smelling a feather? Like these feathers are in the comforter, which is in a duvet cover, which is underneath another whole blanket. Like,
these feathers are making me itchy.
How about, like, what are we talking feathers here? She said,
you can be allergic to anything is the thing. Like, you could, there's no substance on this earth that is impossible to be allergic to.
She said, I don't know. I'm tired of this. Look it up. She said, go look it up. Just do your own research.
Maybe water is the one thing you can't be allergic to.
I think if you were, I think there's types of water, like hard water, chlorinated water. I'm sure there's something in a water, in water as the mechanism to deliver some allergen to you. I said, I cannot look this up. You don't want me to look this up, at least not right now. I'm sure I will type this into the internet, and I will wind up in a place that says, "Oh, you're getting your dog tested for allergies? What a scam. What a scam. Oh, did they say feathers? Oh, that's just so they could sell you the anti-feather stuff. Oh,
dogs still have feathers?
Yeah, exactly. I got what a big allergen is trying to get you to get on their
some kind of feather relief poultice that you can rub on your dog.
I didn't have the energy to go deal with the internet about feathers. So anyway, you're
just gonna take this one at face value, is what you're saying. You're just saying, okay, yes, it's feathers, fine.
Do you really sleep under that many layers?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You don't seem like a many layers kind of guy. I'm sure as hell not.
Oh, I'd look, if I could sleep under bricks, I would have. I like a good weighted.
Okay.
I like somebody to be crushing me at all times.
Yeah, did you ever try one of those weighted blankets?
No, I don't need to. That's why I have this big nice down comforter and this big it's not wool, but it's whatever my wife crocheted or knit. This big heavy like yarned blanket, and it's heavy. I like it. Yeah, look, in the summer, which we're getting into here, does that thing get off the bed? Yeah, sure, of course, yes, of course. Do I wind up kicking off the blankets sometimes and being like, I need to breathe in this thing? Sure, yeah, it gets hot. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
But
these are all normal things.
Yeah, like in the winter? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, give me a heavy blanket. Dust mites were the other thing that came up. And
well, I think we all kind of hate those,
Yeah.
whether we're allergic or not. No, they're never pleasant.
Aren't those just everywhere?
I think those are everywhere. I don't know. Isn't normally like your pillow 90% dust mites by the time you've broken
Right,
it in?
yes. So what is the whole, there's something about like your mattress
weighs
is like
8 times as
some,
much.
some number of pounds heavier after a decade or something.
I don't know if that's another thing where you go on the internet and the big dust mite is going to be trying to get you, or like, oh, that's an urban legend or whatever. But I did say to my wife, again, my poor wife, who was there at the appointment, not me. I said, did you let them know that? Because she was like, she asked him about it, and she's like, look, there's nothing you can really do about the dust mites in your house. Like, everybody's going to have dust mites. Everybody's going to have dust. And I said, did you let them know that we have a very dusty house, that look, you go under our bed, it's not dust bunnies on there. There's a whole damn farm of, it's a whole ecosystem of dust under there. I'm not a huge duster unless I'm doing a deep clean for like under bed and behind cabinets and stuff like that, like behind the door that stays open 99.9% of the time, and then I close the door. I'm like, oh good god, that place didn't get a vacuum in a long time. So
you might become more of a duster after you see this page I just found from the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences.
Look, I live with the dust mites, pay rent. New Jersey has a very high tax property tax. I need those dust mites to pay their fair share.
This says the dust mites commonly live in house dust.
Yeah. What am I gonna do?
The
what am I
dust.
gonna dust?
In the dust.
That's not how I'm living.
That's absurd.
That's absurd. Like,
Why would you even ask that?
should I go put some dust under a microscope and then show the kids and be like, look, just want to let you know this is what we're dealing with.
This lives on you all the time.
Just
Anyway, good night.
whatever you do, don't look up the microbiome in your eyelashes.
I ripped out all my eyelashes.
There you go.
Yeah. I went on the internet, came back, got rid of dust and eyelashes. Thanks, Reddit.
Ironically, now there's a lot more dust in your eye.
Yeah, unfortunately, the nose hair and the ear hair and the eyelashes. Turns out you kind of need that stuff. It's there for a reason. I don't know. Hopefully, Kirby he enjoys making my life down comforter free. That's what I hope. I did say to my wife. I said, wife.
He says to Mabel, you says.
I says, maybe this is the thing that we say. Maybe the dog doesn't sleep on our bed. And to which she said, we just get rid of the down comforter. What's wrong with you?
You don't even have to get rid of it. Just put it in the garage for another, let's just say 20 years.
It's going in the closet. I'm not putting that thing in a garage. That's disgusting. That garage.
Vacuum seal it. Put it in a bag. It'll be fine.
I will vacuum seal it. I do have one of those big things that you hook up to a vacuum that sucks all the air out, that compresses it down, because those are cool. And I don't know if it's bad for a down comforter, but I'm going to do it anyway because I live my life.
Mm-hmm.
Is dog on the bed?
Yes.
Is dog on the bed a plus? Is that a net positive to have dog on the bed?
I would say so.
I thought you were you're going to end your sentence. Is dog on bed? Be like, dog is not on bed. Is dog on floor? Dog is on floor. No.
I think it is a net positive. Yes, if I had a dog, I would want that dog to sleep on the bed.
I think there are a lot of variables there. I think dog on bed might rely on how big is dog, how big is bed.
I think you are not going to. I'm not going to let you both sides dog on bed. Like that is just not going to happen here.
Can we just conduct the rest of the podcast in this type of language?
Is bed big? Is bed big? Dog on bed.
Gameplay good.
Is dog big? Is dog big? Is bed big? Dog on bed? No dog on bed. Is bed small? Dog big? No dog on bed. Is dog small but bed big? Dog on bed? Okay.
Now we're just talking like the Packlids from Star Trek.
That's a reference. I can't join you on this.
This is like some weird reduced science fiction future language. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's very
where
efficient.
They've gotten rid of everything that doesn't just get you to maximum efficiency.
This podcast is going to be 10 minutes long. We've figured out how to do it, folks, and convey all the information you really, really want.
Finally, a good podcast.
So anyway, dog's going to stay on bed. Dog will be on bed.
Good.
And the comforter will change out. I really hope the best for that dog. He's a good dog.
Yeah.
He doesn't deserve to be.
He's your dog. Of course you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did. I think I mentioned this before. They said, so we were going to try, and I think we're still going to try. They offer like, okay, now that we know, we can do this immunotherapy thing, which you have to kind of commit to for a year, they say, right? Like, okay, because you're introducing these allergens over time to the dog. They said it's got like a 70% efficacy rate. Kirby's still pretty young. It still might work after that year. 70% efficacy rate, meaning that either you can stop doing it and the dog has reached some kind of equilibrium with the allergens, or you might have to continue this. And so we'll see. But they give you two options. One is to spray something in the damn dog's mouth twice a day. Or you can give the dog a shot every 10 days. And as much as I don't want to give that dog a shot, I just feel like spraying something in my dog's mouth twice a day that my dog hates is just not the way. That's probably not the way.
I think you should just get rid of all your feathers.
Well, we're going to get rid of the feathers also, but also there's a grass he's allergic to as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did they say where the shot is to be administered?
No, we'd have to go and get like a little how-to dog shot. I don't know. I was imagining, I know a lot of pet owners who have to give their various pets shots for one reason or another. And I feel like it was usually like a pinch around the neck and then like you kind of in the fat of the neck and you kind of put the shot in, but I don't know.
You definitely do that with cats. I don't know if you do that with dogs.
Yeah. Look, Kirby's going to hate us either way. Either way we roll this.
Depends on if it is an intravenous or intramuscular also. Shot.
Intravenous.
Intramuscular.
Anyway, I can't say. I'm trying to think of something. Getting rid of. Speaking of.
No. Just
leaving Earth.
You could just say, let's move on to a new topic.
Speaking of.
Nope.
Allergens. Speaking of fish. Speaking of
animals with opinions.
Speaking of animals who get it rough. Harold Halibut.
That's a mean thing to say about Harold.
Harold.
How is old Harold?
Harold's kind of a dude. I don't know.
I would describe Harold as put upon. By most everyone
happy.
around him. He seems simple.
Yeah, he's like, okay. It's life on the
Fedora.
Fedora whatever.
1, yes.
Seems fairly easy. Okay, so the setup in Harold Halibut, if you don't know...
Yeah, get me to Fedora 1. I need to know how we get there.
So Earth is in a bad way, or previously in the past, Earth was in a very bad way. They launch what is basically essentially, from what I can understand where I am in the game, and I should say I'm only a couple of hours in, maybe 3 or 4 hours in, maybe 3. I'm not sure how long this game is. It's a slow mover.
It's a very slow game. And largely, in fact, almost entirely because of the movement speed.
Yeah.
Like if there was just a run or even a jog, this entire game would go about 3 times. Is there?
Yes, if you hold X, you will jog.
Oh my god, what?
Oh my god, you've been playing without the jog?
Yes, I tried all the shoulders, I tried clicking the stick, like everything you would think of to run. I mean, hold X to dash is like some GTA 3 stuff or something, right?
It's not even, look, a jog is putting it mildly. I mean, it's a little bit of a boost, but it is helpful because this game is a slow walker and talker. It is also a slow, you talk to a lot of people. Yeah. So, Earth was in a bad way. They send out this colony ship, from what I can gather so far in the game, piecing it together. It's not like they give you kind of an intro with like, Earth 2150.
It's kind of a late intro though. Like,
was there a late intro?
Well, I mean, when you get that newsreel kind of the history of our great ship.
Sure.
Thing,
yes.
That is kind of the setup, but it's buried a bit.
On the when you're in the lounge.
Yeah, it's like an hour in or something before you but it's not some big spoiler or secret. They tell you pretty upfront, like, you're in this undersea ship, but they tell you where it came from. It was a generation ship from Earth because somebody during the Cold War thought that everybody was going to be nuclearly annihilated at some point, and then sure enough, they were right. But thankfully, this ship got out ahead of time, and now it's crashed on some water planet.
Yeah, crashed, and you've I think it's like 100-something years since you left Earth, but it's only been about 50-something years since you've crashed.
That sounds. I didn't do the math. What is it? It's like 18,000 days after crash or something like that.
Something like that. 18,000 and change after after crash. And so the crash ship is underwater. The kind of I don't know, the company that's either sponsored the ship or that is now in control of everything is rebranded at some point to All Water.
Yeah, this is one of the more delightfully dystopian names for a company I've heard in a while, the All Water Corporation.
The All Water Corp. And so far, I'll say, inside the ship, I've gotten to a couple of plot points. I think I kind of know what we're moving towards here. It doesn't seem... I mean, I was expecting horrible dystopian nightmare aboard this ship. It's, like, so far kind of just pleasant. It's got a real... So if you've seen this game, the thing you've probably seen about it is the art style.
Yeah, we're kind of burying the lead here.
The art style in this game is some kind of mix between a claymation and puppet, like a kind of wooden puppet crafted scene. It's
a bit Wallace and Gromit, you might say.
Yeah. Not quite full claymation, but it is 3D. These characters are not like rotoscoped or filmed, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I'm not clear what or how they did this, because like they're on the Steam page, there are like shots of people building things for this game. But then you're right, yeah, in the game, everything is just straight up 3D graphics, so I'm not sure.
I mean, it's possible they scanned the models and also like made, like basically built animations out of, those movement scans.
Yeah, that's possible. Maybe it's or some kind of photogrammetry or something. Anyway, the look is great. It looks fantastic. Like
it's also fixed camera, so it could be these background set pieces were real.
Good shoebox diorama kind of look to all the rooms.
You cannot move the camera around. You can zoom in by hitting the trigger, but it's not like you have any control. You're kind of just moving left and right and into space and out. Yeah,
and it's basically an adventure game, but an inventory-less one. Well, you do pick up items to use on quests, but you don't even see them in an inventory.
Yeah, it's kind of more narrative adventure, I would say. Like, you're really just kind of getting the next go talk to this person, and then you kind of make your way through this station, which at first has pretty limited to what do they call them, not zones, the game has a name for them. They're basically sections, like science section, the energy sector, the
arcade,
the
promenade,
yes,
whatever you want to call it.
You get a couple more as time goes on. Some are closed at first, but you're running around these sections. Traveling between them is it's not super fast. It's not exactly tedious, but everything takes a long time. Just kind of, you'll be like, oh, go talk to this person. And you go and you make your way and you go up there. And along the way, there's other people to talk to because there are optional objectives you can pick up. There's like side missions. There's main quest stuff. And when, talking to people, it takes its time with a conversation. It
does, yes.
It's, Harold is not in a rush really for anything. And it's all very pleasant conversation.
Yeah, why would you be? You're in a ship under the water and things just seem fine. Why would you do anything but lazily stroll your way through life?
Well, are things fine? I don't know. They start dropping some hints pretty early that something may be going on out there in the water.
I would think there has to be, because otherwise that's not much of a game.
Well, I'll just say this is early on. Like, that's something, and this is in the first 30 minutes of the game or something. A fish goes swimming by at some point, pulling a handwritten banner behind it.
Yeah.
Saying something like, we're free out here, or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and the characters acknowledge that as if they've seen it before, and they're like, what do they mean by that? It's a strange game. I'm intrigued to see where it's going, if I can stick with it because of the slow pace, like you said.
So there's a couple of like goofy things in it that I'm not sure if you're supposed to take at face value, or you're just supposed to be like, oh, like, to use probably the right word, is it just being cheeky, right? Mm-hmm. Like, this game has a very not even from its art style, and not even from a lot of the characters' accents, but a very English vibe to it.
Oh yeah, extremely.
Though the main character, I think, is voiced by an American. I don't think Harold has an English accent, does he? It's like,
sure.
If it is, it's extremely mild. But it does have that vibe to it of like, even like, again, it not just the Wallace and Gromit stuff or that style of animation. The whole thing kind of has like, we're in this stiff upper lip, like the things might not be so bad. We've crashed underwater, but we'll all pull together and we'll make the best of it. Like that kind of everybody chip in and do your part kind of thing. which again, if this were an American game, everybody it would have fallen into BioShock pretty quickly. Yeah. So there are different sectors. The game does hit like 2 or 3 really interesting plot points. I'm not going to spoil them because I do think they're kind of fun to discover on your own and set the stage for what the stakes are here in the game. It doles them out. It takes a long time to get there, but then doles out like 3 of them very quickly in game terms, which means, over the course of 45 minutes.
Okay, that's promising. I'm still on day 2 where you're kind of running around doing a lot of errands.
Yeah.
Like I went to try to buy the Blue Rock and did the little jogging thing and some stuff like that. There's a couple of, how often do they do mechanical puzzles? I've done 2 of them so far. One of them, I had no idea how I actually solved it.
Is that to change the filter?
Yeah, clean the filter. I have zero idea what I did.
I don't think you're supposed to know how to do that. Okay. I just pushed the buttons that were colored in.
Yes, same. But there's like symbols all over those buttons, and I had no idea what they corresponded to. The other mechanical puzzle is basically a joke. It's very tedious, and then you get the rug pulled out from under you. You might not have done that one. That one's it's fixing the 3D printer. Did you do that one?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that was, it removed all the screws?
Yes.
Yes, that was very silly.
Like, it's kind of funny, but boy, that character is an asshole.
Cyrus?
Yes. He's an amusing scientist asshole, though.
So, yeah, a couple, there. I can think of one more at least that was like, this is also tedious. Like, this is not a engaging thing. There are 2 arcade machines you can play.
Yeah, I played those.
They also are not that fun to play.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, I played them enough to be like, to realize it goes in a loop, and I was like, oh, I thought maybe I'd get I'm playing on the Xbox version, it's on Game Pass. I thought maybe I'd get an achievement or something for getting enough rings or crystals in that flying game, and it was like, no, I think we're just looping around here. I'm not sure what, maybe you do. I gave up at some point. The gameplay in it is like, you should not be coming to this for the gameplay. You should be coming to this because you want a kind of fun aesthetic and maybe a cool narrative and a slow cooker.
Yeah, it's a great look. Like, the vibe is good. The music's good. Music's quite good. Like, just the whole AV package.
Presentation.
Is great. The writing, pretty good. Story, you've seen more of it than I have, but I hope it's going to pay off.
There's interesting things that are set up, and I also hope they pay off. I like the environment they've built, not just the underwater stuff, just this kind of whole thing that's going on here. And again, you do get stuff. Let's just say they're light years away from Earth, and they're setting up this part of the intro is they're setting up this buoy to see if they can receive any communications, and that's a really interesting promise for that game.
It's ripe with narrative potential. Even the mechanical design is kind of interesting. Like, what the hell is that pneumatic tube elevator system they use between sectors? Basically. They literally like flush you down the tube to go to the next sector or whatever. Which some weird machinery in there. I kind of wish it had a little more traditional adventure game to it. Like, it's very much to progress stuff, like basically just like you said, just walk to the next area and talk to the right person and things will move forward. Yeah. Like, I really could use a little more like brain teaser puzzle solving along the way.
I haven't gotten any of that. I think the most complicated thing I got was that one fix the filters puzzle. And you actually do that. You wind up doing that a couple of times. I don't even think it's a puzzle. Like, I don't really think you can fail it. You do get like a Pip Boy, which basically tracks your progress on your optional missions and your missions and what you should be doing. Though sometimes it will say, hey, go meet this person, but not say where. And again, it's not super tedious to explore the area, but when things take a long time, you could be like, man, where is this thing? You wind up in this mission. I have an optional mission. You probably have it as well, Brad, to go find one of the section people's brothers. Did you get that one?
Secretary 8.
Yeah, and it kind of bounces you around. And I would say, if you do get that, and here's my very early tip to people playing, you'll talk to those people throughout the course of the game. Don't try and just finish that mission by running around because you're gonna be passing by these people multiple times.
There's a trophy for that Blue Rock quest that implies that you're going to be solving that quest throughout the entire game. Basically, like the description on the achievement makes it sound like that, or maybe you've seen more than I have, but it made it sound like it's going to be a long process. I could be misinterpreting.
I think I'm done with the Blue Rock.
Oh, interesting.
But maybe not. It's hard to tell exactly. Like I said, there's a couple of threads that open up in the game where you're like, oh, okay. You do go to sleep multiple times, so you pass days. time passes, and it's kind of how they reset the stage of, okay, now this person's going to be in this area, now this person's going to be in this other area. They have like a cast of, let's say, 12 characters that you kind of are mingling with throughout the game, or at least what I've seen so far in my few hours in it. Like you have these repeatable characters. It's not like a world full of hundreds and hundreds of characters on this thing. It's you have this teacher and this other person and this. You work in the science lab, but you're basically a handyman. They have Cyrus, who's working in the energy lab, the guy who owns the store. It's like almost like reminds me a little bit of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood when he goes into Make Believe Land, or
sure.
It's like this little world, this clockwork world that kind of runs. I am very curious about it. The game itself, if you don't have Game Pass, I believe it's $35. And it's on everything. It is such a tight presentation that it is a little weird when I get any graphical glitches or bugs, which have happened to me a couple of times. That's like, oh man, that really just breaks a lot of this little miniature illusion when somebody suddenly has clipped through a thing, or Harold's walked through his bed or something.
Textures all pop in rapidly when they change camera angles and stuff.
Yeah,
because you're right, because it does have like a tactile look to it. Like, especially when you like kind of walk Harold under the right lamp or whatever, and you get the light shining on his head, like his hair looks like it's made out of like plastic or wood.
It's very
wood,
physical.
Right? Like it all looks pretty realistic. So yeah, when that illusion breaks, it's kind of jarring. I'm just excited to get back to it and try the run.
Oh yeah,
I've suffered through almost 2 hours of walking everywhere at the slowest possible speed.
You should definitely hold down X
to see how much faster it is.
It's not a ton faster, but it's probably.
It seems like a necessary amount of better, though.
I'm never going anywhere not running. Though there are forced. Oh my gosh, there's this one part where you're in a forced crawl through a corridor, and that is really long. It is a really long section of just. I mean, you're getting dialogue through it, but it's just like this game is taking its time.
Are you mashing X and being irradiated the whole time?
You are not. No, you're just pushing to the left. It's a weird one. Like, you've got to have some patience for this one, and you need to be bought in. And I am at this point on the story stuff, because otherwise there's not a complicated puzzle game, not a gameplay hook in it. Like for that stuff, it's a presentation atmosphere.
It's an aesthetic pleaser.
Yeah. And it succeeds in that regard for me, at least. $35. It is on pretty much everything. I don't think it's on Switch though, but I believe it's on PlayStation 4 and previous generation consoles as well. I'm playing on the Xbox. It does have a quality performance mode, which I started in quality and then I immediately switched to performance. I didn't see a graphical hit. Maybe there's some lighting or something that comes in later. It's got such a look to it, and it's such a weird game that you're like, quality performance. Like, what the heck? This isn't a racing game. Like, this isn't like a God of War action game. What is going on here? But I don't know. I put it back. It started on performance. I put it to quality. I went back to performance.
Gotcha.
My run. I don't know how it's running on PC. I assume fine. I haven't looked up to see. Like,
probably great. Is it on Switch?
I don't think it's not listed here on Switch on my on the IGDB database stuff. So I'm going to say no. It has consoles, but no Switch. That is out now. Again, it's on Game Pass if you have Game Pass. All right, let's take a quick break. Come back. We got a couple of other games to talk about. Stick around. All right, we are back. And this would have been the one that we should have segued to after the taxes talk. Alex, you played a game called Life Eater. Yeah, that would have made more sense.
Yeah, two things in this world that are absolutes: taxes and kidnapping.
Life Eater, eater of life.
Okay,
nice.
All right.
What is Life Eater? So this was shown during. Wait, where was this shown? Was this shown anywhere?
I don't remember where this was shown, but this was announced a little while ago. This is Strange Scaffold. This is the company that made Sunshine Shuffle. They made El Paso Elsewhere. And this is a very different kind of game than the other things they have made so far.
They are prolific.
They
get games out.
the thing about these games is that a lot of them tend to be smaller experiences.
Sure.
I mean, El Paso Elsewhere had some hours to it, but they're small levels, like they're kind of built around the challenge more than they are like length and depth. This is, how do I describe this? So they describe it as a kidnapping simulator.
Can I read their description here? Because I hadn't read this blurb. Okay. This is from the Steam page. If you don't sacrifice your neighbors, the world ends.
Yeah.
Life Eater is a horror fantasy kidnapping simulator where you must become intimately familiar with your target's lives, one intrusive action at a time, and hope that the dark god you serve is even real. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. Based on what I played, that makes perfect sense to me.
Okay. Is that a fair description?
So I was seeing Xavier Nelson, who is the lead designer at Strange Scaffold and kind of the writer of a lot of these games, he was talking about the pitch for this game essentially having been a Saw game. Like, they pitched this to someone who was going to make a Saw game or wanted to make a Saw game, and it seems like that pitch did not go anywhere, but then eventually he was like, well, I could just spin this out into something else. So it started, I think, with that, but what they end up with something is maybe a little bit closer to the movie Frailty, the Bill Paxton movie, which, if you've never seen it, the top line version of it is that it is about a kid telling the story of his dad who was told by God to kill demons, which basically means axe murder people.
Okay.
In this case, you have been told by some kind of elder god that every year you have to sacrifice X number of people in a very specific way, or the world will end. And for whatever reason, you believe this.
I think there was maybe like a Black Mirror-ish thing that had a tinge of this to it, where this person wasn't quite sure real or not, but there was like a demon basically who said, if you don't kill these 3 people, the world's going to end.
Yes. And that is basically what this is that you start out with one or multiple potential targets. You get a number of people you have to decide are going to be sacrificed. And the way this is presented is in a week-long, what looks like basically a Google Calendar for them. It's their daily schedule throughout a week.
Oh, okay. I was looking at these screenshots, and I immediately, like, at a glance, I took it as some kind of like video timeline, like nonlinear editor-looking thing.
Yeah, it has that look, but it is more about, so all these blocks are basically unknown to you until you start clicking on them. And then you'll perform different actions that do things like, that are more likely to reveal what that person is doing during that time. Some of them take longer. Some of them raise more suspicion. If your suspicion goes up too high, you get a strike. There's a limited number of strikes you can get before you'll basically be discovered. And you're basically just like scrubbing through these different schedule things, trying to find the right person or right persons to sacrifice. And then once you've gotten them over a threshold of knowing enough about the schedule that you need in order to successfully kidnap them, you do it.
Alex.
Yeah.
I really have a lot of questions, but
I might be able to answer some of them. Okay,
how is this game balancing this is extremely disturbing versus this is an interesting concept, or both? I assume the killer is reluctant to do some of this stuff?
Reluctant but convinced.
Okay.
Doesn't like doing it, but feels like they have to.
Does the game, is it even a dark sense of humor, or is it just dark?
I think there is a little bit of a dark sense of humor running through it, mostly in kind of the margins of text, less in the direct narrative. But
okay.
So there's a guy that you end up kidnapping early on, not because he's one of the targets, but because he sees you. And you end up keeping him in a cage for years, talking to him and discussing why you are doing this. And
he becomes your confidant.
He's I assume is sort of more like the second person audience surrogate of person watching this horrible thing and being like, why the fuck are you doing this? But then you do things like, then you get to the ritual part after you kidnap them. And it's things like, okay, if their hair is this color, take out their third rib. If their hair is this other color, remove their pancreas. And then once you have successfully gotten the 3 organs out that you need to get out, you pierce the heart.
Oh, I see. You literally play Operation.
Kind of, yeah. So that's like more where I would say the dark humor is, in the just absurdity of what you are actually performing.
And what do you think? Is it successful in its... Is this just like a really disturbing journey here?
Yeah, it's not light at all.
Okay.
I want to be clear. I'm fine with this kind of thing. I like a lot of horror, and this is definitely operating in a space of horror. They aren't showing you in graphic detail murder. They are not going in, like, this is not a slasher movie.
Right. I can see from the art style, this doesn't necessarily look like it's out there to just gross you out with in detail horror.
No. But it does get under your skin a little bit, and it is disturbing. It is unpleasant. Like, you don't really feel like sympathy for the guy that you are playing as and the acts that he is committing. But at the same time, they don't make him out to just be like a celebratory murderer. He's a person who seems tortured more than anything else, either by mental illness or by an actual elder god. And I assume the game will eventually get around to explaining what is real or not.
Yeah, I almost would just want to play this just to see how it wraps up. Do you know if anything you've seen, heard, or have played so far that can shed light on my question of whether there might be multiple endings to this?
I don't know at this stage. I'm several kidnappings in. I don't know exactly how long it is, though I assume based on other Strange Scaffold stuff, it's probably not that long.
Is this a game that in the mid to late 90s would have been in front of Congress?
Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, this game I don't think would get made in that environment because, I mean, maybe it's like a budget PC thing because like the indie space was not what it is now.
Fair, yes.
And I think that pitch would be a little harder for anything that wasn't just like some edgelord developer. But that's the thing, is that Xalavier and Strange Scaffold are not that at all. Like, it's why this thing feels so deeply left field compared to everything else they made. Like, El Paso Elsewhere had some darkness in it, but it was mostly darkness in service of a relationship story. Whereas this is just grim in a lot of ways, but is done in a way that feels kind of quirky on top of it. Like, it's a schedule management game with a visual novel aspect attached to it that is about serial murder.
Yeah, like, look, I'm all up for weird and inventive and dark stuff. Again, if done right, if it's not the just celebratory.
But that's the thing, is it's not that.
Yeah,
I can tell you that it is not a thing that is like, look how fucking dark and edgy this is. Like, that is not the tone.
Right? Yeah.
It's like listening to you hear or describe like the top line pitch for this game. Like, nobody would ever accuse the studio of being derivative.
No.
Yeah. Right.
They seize on an idea and then they execute it in whatever fashion they can. And I'm going to say their games do start feeling more and more complete as time has been going along. So,
Life Eater, huh?
Life Eater. This is not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I should just emphasize that again here at the end. This is probably something that most people will find deeply unpleasant. I am at least find it intriguing.
Does it have like a running... I know you said the character kind of... does it have VO?
It does have VO. So far, it has really only been the main character and the guy in the cage.
But it's not like El Paso where it was just kind of this running.
No, it's an
monologue.
in between each kidnapping scenario. There is a cutscene that is mostly a series of still images, but with voice acting.
Okay. I guess one other question here.
By all means,
is there any sense in these kidnappings? I mean, I'm trying to limit this to one other question. I have a lot of questions, but I should just play it. But is there any sense that the people you are kidnapping are not good people? Or are you like, I think this might decide if I'm going to play it or not. Like, are you going out there and being like, I don't know, this is just like a parent who's like trying to make right by their kids?
I have to imagine it will start getting more tortured as time goes along. There have been some where it alludes at the top, like, here's this year, the guy, whatever, I forget the name of the elder god, but like it wants a monster. So of the people that you find, you have to find the one who is the shittiest.
Okay.
Though, to be fair, in that one, the one who was the shittiest was a guy who just spent a lot of time on the internet trolling.
Yeah, that's pretty shitty though.
Yeah.
That's
I'm just saying. I'm not saying that like you're not necessarily out there hunting demons necessarily. And in fact, there are some. It's like one that's just like an elderly guy who is bedridden, and it's like you have to find the moment that they're like his caregivers aren't around to grab him.
I gotta say, between this and was it Children of the Sun, I think we need to go get our development teams. We need to make sure everybody's okay.
Nobody's doing well right now, man. Like mentally or otherwise.
People working some things out through their art.
Yeah.
Is everybody all right out there?
No, absolutely not. I'm telling you.
Let's Life Eater. That is available probably only on PC. And that is
yes, as far as I know,
$15 on the PC. You can check it out now. That came out, I think, yesterday.
Yes,
officially. Hope that the dark god you serve is even real.
That would be nice. I mean, I don't know if it makes me feel better, but it would make me feel something.
I don't know if there's a good turn on that.
Yeah, is this person a hero or a monster?
I mean, I don't think he's a hero. I could say that with some definitiveness.
What if he's saving us all from the dark god?
Probably not.
Is that dark god's name Zimforth by chance?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I glanced at some Steam reviews. Zimforth. The dark god.
Doesn't that sound like the name of a dark god to you?
Mm-hmm.
A very believable dark god?
Zimforth?
I feel like we're going to find out like Zimforth was like the name of a logo he saw on the streetlight that told him that he needed to go do this.
Some kind of energy drink. All right, Alex, you got another one here. Now, this one I think you said was shown during the Triple I initiative.
Yes.
This is Laysara Summit Kingdom.
Yes, this is a city builder, but vertical.
Is this the Mountain City Builder?
This is the Mountain City Builder.
Oh, wow. Oh, cool.
That is based it is a fantasy, but it is based very heavily on Himalayan culture and aesthetics. And so I haven't gotten super deep into this one. I just started messing around with it, but it is a city builder through and through. Like it is, you're building residential neighborhoods, you are building various, farm and product distribution areas, but eventually what you're doing is you are working your way up a mountain map and trying to build more and more on top.
It's interesting. I feel like we saw that other one that wasn't quite this seems like you said, Alec, hardcore city builder.
Yeah.
What was the one, Brad, that we saw that was in the world with the eagle, the one that was like you're building in the it's these mountains in the water, remember? I can't remember the name of the game.
It's the one set in the Falconeer universe.
Yes, that Falconeer kind of not necessarily. It seemed a little lighter on the city building part, but it was also it seemed like a vertical city building thing.
Bulwark.
Okay.
Falconeer Chronicles Bulwark.
Got it. Okay.
I like the idea that people are taking this concept of city building and kind of doing new things with it.
I like that they're doing anything with it, because for a long time people were not making city builders, and I feel like City Skylines came around and maybe gave that genre a little bit of juice that it did not have, and now we are seeing some other variants. And
there's been other stuff. There's been interesting stuff. Yeah.
I'm just saying that I feel like there was a dormant period, mostly the time immediately after SimCity 2013.
Yeah, I still think to myself every so often, remember SimCity? What the hell's going on with SimCity?
I know.
Well, is that brand just dead at this point?
For the people that have been playing them, there have been plenty of really nice fantasy city building experiences that aren't the in-depth, dense city building thing but there are those ones out there, and they're good. But this, Alex, Laysara,
yeah.
How is it? This is an early access.
This is early access. It launched same day as the presentation in early access. I would say right now, I mean, it is a straight-up city builder. I would not say it's that hardcore. It feels like it is a game that is a little bit more rooted around, you kind of enjoying the aesthetics and the environment that you're in. You are building, and you are trying to, hit these goals and trying to make, it continue to expand upward. But it does not, at least in the early goings, feel very difficult. It is more about just kind of getting a feel for, at least in the early goings, it is very much just about getting a feel for, here are all the things that you can build. Just keep going. Just keep going up. See what you can do.
What kind of management stuff are we talking about, resources wise?
So, when you were building stuff for citizens, there are different kinds of citizens. There are artisans, there are craftsmen, things like that. There's also just regular farm folk, and they are kind of the people that just sort of run the base level operations. But you'll have to build things you need yaks to move stuff from place to place. You need specific kinds of food resources, eggs and hay and all that kind of stuff. So you're building stuff along a network that both produces those things and then also refines and distributes them to the people.
And are there like happiness ratings, or are there like you said, there's different kinds of people? Like, do you have to meet their needs in certain ways?
There are needs that need to be met. At least early on, it seems like it is more about like you upgrade their dwellings and stuff by meeting their needs. Okay. And once you do, like, there are things you can kind of check off. But like usually, it's like, hey, I'm not getting enough hay. Hey, I want some copper utensils. Can you make that happen?
Is there any sense that there is, aside from the environment, which I assume becomes the thing you're competing against, any kind of like antagonist or combat or anything like that?
No, you have some advisors. One of them is kind of a jerk, but like other than that, it does not feel like there's really like a serious like threat or anything that you have to be dealing with, other than you need to, you know, keep expanding and find places for your people in order to survive. That's kind of it.
Okay. So is it kind of a chill experience?
So far, yeah. I mean, it's possible that once you start unlocking more maps, things start getting more hairy. But so far, it seems like a fairly relaxed experience.
I remember the name of the one I was trying to think of that I really enjoyed recently. It might still be in early access. Against the Storm. There's a lot of fantasy city building stuff like that has come out.
And Frostpunk
so I didn't want to leave those people behind when we said there are no city building games. There are
now. I'm saying, like, in recent years, there has been a big boom in these, and I feel like a lot of them have been pretty interesting. It's not that they don't make them anymore; it's that they didn't make them for a while.
Also, I feel like there is some and there's in a Venn diagram there is crossover in some of these games between factory style game and city building style game.
Yeah,
and some of them
sometimes and sometimes like a little bit of tower defense as well. Occasionally,
yeah, sometimes. So like I don't think I would call They Are Billions a city building game. That's like kind of more on the tower defense.
Yeah,
and I think even Against the Storm is more like a roguelite city builder where you're doing runs in a thing. It's interesting. They're doing interesting things with this genre. This game looks cool. I was looking at images of it, and just the kind of environments look really nice. Do you know where it stops in the early access, or what wall you might? No,
I don't yet. Like I said, I've only just dipped in a little bit, but like, you know, enough to get a feel for it and kind of see like what they're going for here. It seems like there's at least some like difficulty stuff that is not unlocked yet in this tier of early access, but you know, right now it is just like, here's the first couple of maps, here you go.
The name of the developer on this, Quite Okay Games, which is
they made anything else that sounds familiar?
Fan of that name. They have on their page on Steam Europa, which is, I don't think that's come out yet.
Yes, I saw Europa was also being promoted recently.
Oh, XO1, which my kids love that game. I recently just saw. Did they really?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that thing where you're just
I remember that
floating
one.
around?
Yeah,
that was a neat game.
My kids recently were like, "How come you don't have XO1 installed anymore?" I was like, God, "What?"
All the kids are talking about XO1.
I really would not have expected that at all.
Fortnite and XO1, biggest games in the fourth grade.
The kids want to be discs. They're all about the discs.
That was a weird one.
They crave physical media.
Like a frisbee pinging around different planets.
Man.
Yeah.
I was just looking, sorry, this is a thing that I keep coming upon this is unrelated to this game, but every time I boot up Steam, I have not played one of my more beloved games in recent memory, American Truck Simulator in recent times, because, you know, I tend to these days pop it on a little bit when a new state comes around and then kind of move my way on to other stuff for a while. But the last year of development for this game, I really feel for them, because they are stuck in the dead middle of the country with their current DLC offerings, like
all those rectangular states.
Those rectangular states that really don't change that much in terms of overall scenery. And so, like, you see these news updates that are like, Nebraska gameplay reveal. Check out, like, the art of Arkansas.
Check out all these rows of corn, because that's about all there is to see here.
And I feel bad, because, of course, this is what you have to do. This is how you promote this stuff. But it's just the least appealing sounding development update you could possibly give as an American. And so I look, it's not like I'm not going to play those states. I'm going to play those states, but it's just the hype train has maybe hit a little bit of a snag in the middle of the country.
You think they're out there doing tours Like the developers are out there.
They
being
are.
like,
I know they are because they send they send people from their studio out to do photo research every time they start on a new state. And the last time it was like, check out our photo tour of Missouri. And I'm like, I'm good. Thanks. I've seen Missouri. I know what it looks like.
Look, it's a large country with a lot of interstate on it.
And a lot of that interstate is the same state, kind of.
It's a little, some of it is copy and paste these tiles, and I bet a lot of people are like, thank God for Speed Tree at some point. Well, actually, I don't even know how many trees are along those roads. Speed Corn?
No, they got trees in Missouri.
Yeah, they're there, but I'm along the interstates. I feel like when I've only done the trip cross country once, and there were definitely those stretches where you're like,
oh yeah,
I'm zoning out, man.
And it's like,
that's right, time to do 110. Just lean back.
But that's the thing is, like, when you're out in the desert, I feel like there is a certain, one, you can do that, and two, there's a certain amount of scenery and enjoying of sort of the majesty of, you know, God's great country and all that stuff. Whereas when you're out in the cornfields of Nebraska, you just really want to be like at least 1,000 miles from where you are.
Look, I'm not going to say I hated it. I'm just going to say it was very samey for a lot of that trip.
It's like losing time.
It's a little like losing time, but we luckily, or I guess, you know, we planned it. My son was like 1.5 or 2. We even through like the Nebraska parts would try to find a museum or something. There is stuff out there you have to pull off and go find it. But I'm
not saying there is nothing at all in totality in these states. I am simply saying that when you are driving through them, which is the appeal of the video game I'm referencing here, there are hard limits in terms of like what you can actually do there.
What I'm saying is, if you try to turn off at the wrong spots, you're going to hit an invisible wall. And that's right. You're just going to have to keep going.
30% of those off ramps are fake. Don't trust them.
You're just going to pull up. It's got those big red X's over them. I can't go through this. What is going on behind here? Just get back on the road, sir, and just keep going. Just keep going. What happened? This part's still under development.
Man, I feel like I would need like a stack of audiobooks to get through that drive. I mean, by yourself, if you have people with you, I guess it's different, but like, man.
Just try having a screaming 2-year-old in the backseat.
No,
makes
thanks.
it really, makes the whole thing, I didn't do the driving, and we did not drive very late into the evening, because I bet driving on those roads in like at 2 a.m. can also be a trip. Because there aren't a lot of cars.
No.
I've never made that drive. I mean, I've been on trips across the country, but never done the drive myself. That's like the strategy puzzle aspect of how to break it up sounds super fascinating to me.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how many hours a day behind the wheel can you tolerate? Like, at what point are you too tired that it's like reckless to still be on the road?
Yeah.
Like, do you try to plan all your stops ahead of time, or do you just see how far you can make it each day? Like, it sounds like a fun problem to solve.
There is some interesting stuff there, at least from what I remember of you can get really used to at least on the East Coast here, stuff is so dense that you can get used to just not having to plan for rest stops or gassing up or those kind of things, where once everything starts spreading out exponentially, you're like, oh gosh, the next gas station's like 25 miles away. Because on the East Coast, it's like you hit a gas station every half a mile, you know,
right.
Like, oh, I could just pull off here, or a rest stop or something. So it is kind of interesting.
But, are there sorry, so you're talking about cross-country road trips all day.
Yeah,
I wonder if are there stretches of major interstate like I-40 or something that still don't have cell signal, I wonder if there's at least phone coverage pretty much along all interstates now.
I mean, I think generally there is, but there are definitely areas, especially when you're going through more, not just rural, but like, you know, parklands and places that are not really populated at all, where the signal gets pretty low. I'm sure that is probably improved since the last time I did this trip, which was not some years ago, but I definitely remember there being stretches where I was like, you know, I was still on a major highway, but like there just wasn't anything around, and therefore there was probably not a cell tower within sight.
Sure.
I've definitely done road trips upstate New York and beyond where it's like, oh, the cell phone's just dead. Like, there's no mapping happening. There's no, you know, we're not streaming music anymore.
Right.
We're out of coverage.
Yeah. You can drive 20 minutes from this house and be in that situation.
Oh, okay.
Up on a hiking trail. Last question. Did you actually do 110?
I'm trying to think how fast it was that I did on. It was one of those Nevada highways where it's just like a long stretch of nothing. And you could see for like miles in front of you because it was kind of like a down into a valley and then back up. I think I got the car at least up to 110.
Wow.
It might have been
your
slightly
car
higher.
can handle it.
My car can go, I think, 140 without too much.
Wow.
Without it flying apart. But I didn't do that. I might have gotten close to 120. I don't remember, but it was very fast. I know that. And there was no one on the highway. I want to be clear. Like, it was not like I was darting around other cars or anything. It was a long, straight shot that I knew I could go. And I did that for about 10 or 15 seconds. I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm good.
Yep. I've never gone anywhere near that fast, but yes, I know what you mean.
If the Prius goes 88, it goes back in time. The Prius is like, what are you doing, man? No, what are you doing? Like, I don't even know what the speedometer goes up to on my Prius, but I think it goes from 65 to like pretty fast for this car.
You're just not putting enough garbage in the gas tank. That's the problem.
Yeah. But I will say my wife was driving mostly. I think I looked over once and she was maybe doing like 85 or something like that. I feel like those roads generally, from what I remember, the relative sense of speed is just gone also. Like it's just like they're just straight flat things and you look over and there's nobody on the road. You're like, oh my God, how fast are you going? Not like, because there's also nothing passing by you. It's just it's just
tumbleweeds. Maybe that's about it.
Yeah. It's not like there's sign. It's just weird, man. It's weird. All right, that's Laysara Summit Kingdom.
Part of that was at least.
Yeah, part of that. That's $20. Again, early access. And that's on Steam. Let me say I did not get into my Final Fantasy check-in. Brad, I don't know if you got into any more Final Fantasy Rebirth. I did not, but I have a very good reason.
Next week for me, I'm going to get back to it for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm still underneath the Golden Saucer doing some business there. My son said he wanted to beat Remake, and so he was on the PlayStation 5. And this is adorable and cute. And usually I'll let them on the weekends that let the kids play games on the weekend because I'm going to play when they go to bed. And he said, Dad, if you don't mind, don't, Brad, I feel like you'll appreciate this. He's like, don't play the PS5. And I was like, wait, what's up? He's like, I had to suspend it. I beat the boss before Sephiroth and it's just all cutscene and I'm not sure it's saved. And I was like, dude, fair enough. I will not touch the PS5. I know exactly what you're talking about. That transition from that big boss you fight to Sephiroth. And I'm like, it probably auto-saved. You're probably fine because it's going to reload you if you lose that battle. But I understand your concern. You don't want to do that again. Godspeed. And so I did not play the PlayStation 5.
It's a wise man.
Yeah.
I can confirm it does checkpoint you before. If you get into the Sephiroth fight and die, it does checkpoint you there.
He had to do it a couple of times, so he did find that out. But I totally understood his concern. It's a very long fight. He also had to do that fight before Sephiroth a couple of times and understood the frustration of having to watch all those cutscenes in there.
It's rough.
And he immediately went into interlude, or
intermission.
Intermission. And I was like, heads up, you should probably touch this if you're going to play Rebirth. I was like, when I played it, I just mainlined the story and I didn't do all the other stuff. And the other day, I came in and he's like, hey, remember when you were like, you just mainlined the story and whatever? And I was like, yeah. He's like, did you play Fort Condor? I was like, no, I skipped it for that stuff. He's like, I kind of spending all my time playing Fort Condor.
Oh, no.
I get it.
I'm like, man, you gotta get on, gotta get moving.
Fort Condor is no Queen's blood, but it's pretty good.
I swear, if this kid beats Rebirth before I'm done, I've got to walk them back on the weekend. That's just too much.
Turn into a father-son race or something.
Yeah. So just in terms of like, man, how much are you playing on the weekend? Because
are you doing your homework?
Well, he doesn't play during the week, but I definitely know because my daughter's been pouting around the house. That's like, what's up? He's like, Max is on this machine. He won't let me play. I'm like, is he playing Final Fantasy? And I'm like, he's right at the end. You gotta let the guy.
Yeah,
this is an important time in your brother's life. Okay?
Yeah, you gotta let him finish up. He's right. Look, you can hear the music. It's like, come on, let him finish. He's been on it all day. Be like, Yeah, but it's Final Fantasy. He's at the end of this. What do you got? Put it down? Come on. It's like 70 hours worth of cutscenes at the end there. You gotta give the kid a break. So anyway, I thought that was really interesting, which is why I didn't play Rebirth. But I did play, and I played a game last Thursday. I believe it was called Planet Crafter, which I'm not going to talk too much about here. It's kind of a Subnautica, but it's on planets, and you're kind of doing that stuff. Somewhere along the line, I forget why, I think I was talking about, my son was reading this book, and he asked me about Dyson spheres, and we watched videos about Dyson spheres, and people linked them in the chat about Dyson spheres. And I got really way into thinking about Dyson spheres and Dyson swarms again. And I loaded
as one does
the Dyson sphere program again.
Great.
And if anybody, you guys remember, this is kind of a factory game. I
know how you feel about those.
Access?
What's up, Brad?
Still in early access?
Yes. So they interestingly enough, during that Triple I initiative thing, they had an update for Dyson Sphere, which was coming, or the Dyson Sphere program. So they just, since I've played it seriously, they have added combat to that game. They've added an antagonistic force in the universe. It was mostly about getting resources and kind of building up to build your Dyson Sphere or swarm around the sun. And now they've added kind of from the jump, you can engage in this competitive race for resources on the planet.
Are there mechs? Do I remember there being mechs in this game?
So you are a mech, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's your cursor?
Yeah. It's your avatar, right? You are basically a mech that gets upgrades, and you're basically taking over a solar system to scoop out all its resources to build this, to build this sphere around a star so you can harness its energy. And I've never done it. And I spent many hours as my son was toiling away in Final Fantasy, and then as he went to sleep, and then as he woke up, apparently, on Dyson Sphere program. They've added a lot of quality of life updates. It's a very good factory building game. There's a lot of good stuff in it. Even since the time I've played it, the treadmill of upgrades is intense and a lot and fast and good. I've really enjoyed going back to it. It's only $20 on PC, which is kind of amazing for what it feels like is in that game. Again, it's still early access. I think the thing they announced during that presentation was they're going to add vehicles for your mech to be in. I don't know what that means entirely. But, you're flying from planet to planet to harvest other resources and then having interplanetary chains of resources. I mean, look, I don't know if you guys have ever built a Dyson Sphere. It takes a lot of energy. The video I was watching said we'd have to dismantle pretty much most of Mercury to build ours in this solar system.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
what's that planet doing for anyone?
No, that's what this video said also. It was like, this is probably the best candidate. Fuck Mercury.
Yeah, it's just a hot, dumb rock. Fuck it. Get that shit out of here.
What
is a Dyson swarm? I know what a Dyson sphere is because I am a child that watched Star Trek The Next Generation. So tell me what a Dyson swarm is.
So a Dyson sphere is a fully enclosed structure around a sun, right? Which will capture its energy and get you to, Brad and Alex, please correct me if I'm wrong, get you to, because I want to say the Kardashian, but it's not the Kardashev scale Civ 2, right?
Yes.
I think
2 and 3.
Yeah. So this is basically the Dyson sphere is a kind of milestone for getting you to interstellar travel and more energy than your local system can provide, or your planet. So a Dyson swarm is basically the same concept, except you're not building a fully enclosed sphere around the sun. You're basically putting satellites, like not infinite, but enough mirrors and collectors in a swarm around the sun, so that if a rock comes by, it only takes out 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, 10 or 15 or a billion, and doesn't break the entire sphere. A sphere being a thing that can be compromised pretty easily, could fall into the orbit of the sun, and a swarm is just that thing broken up into a lot of component parts around the sun.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a collecting system versus an actual enclosed space.
Yeah.
Well, you could live on the platforms like in a sphere as well, but they're just not connected.
Yeah. So the thing I saw was like, it's probably more sensible to launch like a billion tiny collection focusing mirrors around the sun that then focus in all that energy into a collector that is in somewhere else. So that the probability of it going awry lessens. You have
Gotcha.
Yeah. And the video I watched again, technically this actually isn't that. We could probably get there if the Earth were not to end from our own means. Like this is not beyond it's science fiction, but it's not so far into science fantasy. Like this is the thing you probably could attain logistically. The resources to get there are the hurdles, right? The money,
Right.
the time invested, the
and
unification
the infrastructure to harvest them.
Well, it's basically you'd have to come together as a world, right, to get this project.
That's not happening.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's what was the problem. Like we're tearing each other apart. We're not anyway, thought it was interesting. And then I was like, oh well, I'm gonna build a Dyson sphere in a game. That'd be fun. What do I need? Oh, turns out you need
Mercury.
All of Mercury and dismantle it. Which is an interesting concept, to dismantle a whole planet in your solar system. What could go wrong?
Yeah.
Nothing could go
delicate
wrong.
gravitational balances have never mattered.
Who cares? It's just one. We got plenty more. Anyway.
Well, just like, we'll go to tow Pluto in there, and that can go be our new Mercury.
Apparently Mercury also, close enough where getting the raw materials turned into these collectors. It's right there. It's right in front of the sun. So, it's just a short
you have to
trip.
get over there. That's the other problem, is you have to get over there without dying of solar radiation.
Yeah, I think one of the things this video also posited is like, you're probably doing this with some kind of mechanized,
I'm not doing this at all.
A couple of...
I'm telling you right now, this is not going to happen to me in my lifetime.
You're not signing up for the Mercury dismantle project?
I don't think they'd have me.
Yeah.
I don't. Even if I did sign up, I think they'd be like, "You're over wrong side of 40. You've got a shoulder injury. What can you actually do for us?"
You could just be, I don't know. They could eat you when things go wrong on Mercury in some horrible sci-fi
No, they
way.
can do that here on Earth. I don't need to go out there for that.
I forget the name of the series I was watching, but they were fun. They were fun, well-made animated videos. Somebody can put in the comments what they were, but they also had a lot of sci-fi positing videos that I wound up watching with the kids. One was terrifying, which was like, look, if you're going to meet another alien race, really your best bet is a first strike annihilation, because really what you want to do is wipe out
children.
You want to wipe out that planet immediately.
I can't remember. There's that whole theory of like interstellar gamesmanship, right? You should just launch a preemptive strike against every alien race you encounter before they can get you.
That was basically it, because because of the way time works and communication and scaling up of tech. Really, what you want to do is just annihilate as soon as you find somebody else in the solar system. Otherwise, you're probably going to become resources or be outmaneuvered at some point. And my kids were like, "Whoa. Really?" And I was like, well, I don't know. This person in this video makes a lot of sense.
I mean, I'm not telling you to go out and do it. I'm just saying that, if this were to happen, this just statistically speaking, this is the best option.
Anyway,
I was
fun time.
I was trying to think if this is. I thought of Dark Forest theory, which I just looked up.
That's what they were referencing.
It's more of a corollary of what you're talking about. But yes, the idea that many alien civilizations exist throughout the universe, but they are both silent and hostile.
Yes.
Maintaining their undetectability for fear of being destroyed by another hostile and undetected civilization. Well, great.
The name of I looked up Dark Forest because, again, this references it. And the name of the channel I should mention, which I watched, was Kurtzagats? Kurt?
Oh, yeah. Kurtzagacht or something along those lines.
It's a lot of vowels, or sorry, few vowels and a lot of...
Kurtzagacht, I believe, if it's German, I assume.
Yes. Yes, and that was the series I wound up going down a rabbit hole on and being like, these are nicely animated and fun, and when the little animations first strike and annihilate a planet, it feels just less brutal, really. I recommend it if you're curious. I don't know how the science is in them, but they were fun to watch. They were entertaining. Also, the one on time melted my family's brains on all time is happening, and maybe
just got to achieve higher dimensionality. We can just skip along to whenever.
Or due to how relativity works, it kind of has to work out this way, where like all time has already happened,
right.
And
yep, it's just another physical dimension that we can't access.
Yeah. Well, when we get up on the Kardashev scale.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Kardashev level 3 means you are harnessing the entire energy output of your whole galaxy.
Yeah, hell yeah. Did you see this video also posited like, these aren't talked about as much, but there's a 4 and a 5 where you are like, you can do like the entire universe.
Sure.
And like, okay, at that time you're just some kind of time lord. Like, what are you even doing at that point? So that was Dyson Sphere program. Spent a lot of time there, and then I sat down with the kids. I think it was on Sunday, and they were like, "Well, okay." My son was taking a break from Final Fantasy. He's like, "What do you want to do?" I was looking through Game Pass, and Phoenix Wright, the Phoenix Wright trilogy, we settled in on, and it's the one with the updated graphics, the HDified graphics. You know, they're okay. Not my cup of tea. Like,
had you not played them before?
The new trilogy, I may have, but I mostly in my mind remember the DS one or the older ones. Was that Game Boy originally?
Wasn't. Oh God, it's either GBA or DS. I think it's DS.
I feel like I remember playing most of them on the DS.
Might be the start.
Yeah, I don't think there was.
Or at least
GBA
here in the
one.
States, maybe we got. Them
Oh
on the DS.
no, the first one was on GBA.
Oh, okay.
I think I played most of them on the DS, and so I remember the really nice pixel art in it.
Yeah,
and these are kind of smoothed over, right? They're
cleaned up.
They're cleaned up. The text is legible, which is nice. But and then I looked up the pixel art, and I was like, yeah, this would probably look like crap if you just blew it up. But there's no option to toggle. Also, I think I forgot like how, in the words of my daughter, heyo, that game is with some of the shaking, jiggling breasts and stuff going on. It was
a different time. Although
literally my daughter being like, heyo, I was like, yeah,
nice lady. How's it going?
There's like one witness who's literally just like jiggling every time you do your objection, and my son I think was more like, just stop mentioning it and be like, no, we're gonna call it out every time it happens. And there's fun. I like those games a lot. I think that's a fun series for the kids to run through for Phoenix Wright. Good murder.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta save Larry Butts. How many times are you gonna save Larry Butts? Did you guys ever play the Apollo ones?
I never played the Apollo Justice ones.
No.
Yeah, I never did either. I wonder if Layton's in some kind of HD form. I wonder, could you do Layton on like a? Gosh, there are probably some people screaming at it right now, being like, "Of course you can!" But they had a lot of like puzzles with the stylus and stuff. Didn't it?
Some of the Layton games are on mobile.
Okay. Oh, for touch,
or at least the first one is. And I think it's been adapted for that.
I feel like those would be fun, too.
There's at least one on Switch, if not multiple.
There was also a spin-off made for iOS. I cannot remember. I think it starred his niece or something.
Okay. Oh, that sounds familiar.
There is a new Switch one coming next year. Professor Layton in the New World of Steam.
Oh, man. Oh, I have heard that name. Is that?
Yeah.
Do you know if that's like new, or is that them still bringing
is new.
Okay. That's cool.
It is a new Nintendo Switch game coming in 2025.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. That sounds right for a Layton game, at least.
Let's just hope it would run on a second Switch, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Better Layton than never is what I always say.
Got them. Man, I would play a new Layton.
So would I.
On some level, there's nothing I need more right now than a new Professor Layton, actually.
In my mind, Or the Layton games, they couldn't have been. They were never voiced, right? But I could hear
No, they totally were.
Were they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I remember
Absolutely.
a voice.
They were voiced on the 3DS?
I don't know if every single one of them was, but some of them were at least.
I mean, I think it wasn't it's a case of there was very limited voice acting. Most of the dialogue was just text, but for cutscenes.
I think that's right.
Okay, because I can hear the voice in my head, but then I'm like, wait, was it really the cart game voiced at some point?
I guess you could voice samples on a cart. You just, you can't
absolutely
do a lot of them.
Yeah, you just couldn't do a lot. So that's what I mean. Okay. They just used it very selectively for story moments.
I can hear Professor in my head somehow.
Totally.
I should get the kids on the Layton tip. Phoenix Wright and Layton. They never go old. That's it for what I've been up to. I'm going to try and get back to Rebirth. We're off next week. We should probably mention at some point. This will be the first point I mention. I'll mention it again later. I was thinking, man, if I can hunker down, could I finish Rebirth?
Man, that's bold.
That's
you
bold.
could.
I'm not going to say I'm gonna.
Is the question.
Also, now I have to peel myself off of Dyson Sphere program.
Yeah, you kind of messed up there, didn't you?
Kind of messed up there a little bit with myself. And I still want to go back and play more Warframe before I forget everything I had learned in Warframe. There's a lot going on. Dragon's Dogma is off in the distance at this point.
I was going to ask where you're at with Dragon's Dogma.
No,
I feel like public opinion kind of turned on that one a little bit as people got deeper into it.
Yeah. Again, I was still enjoying it by the time I put it down. We've talked about it before, but I think some people were saying, maybe it's not. It's a mile wide and an inch deep kind of thing. Where
that's kind of the gist I've gotten is like lots of fun, emergent moments fighting big monsters and stuff, but like story and quest design don't necessarily hold up their end of the bargain.
Yeah, I'd still like to see it through, but
yeah, I still want to play more of it. I'm heading back home this week, so hopefully we'll have more time to play games.
Like I said last time, I almost put Final Fantasy down and was like, man, I need to get past this part. But then when I got to the saucer, it picked up again. So
okay, my Twitter timeline is still rotten with Final Fantasy. Like there's just like stuff about the ending of that game everywhere that I'm having to not interested in this post all over that shit.
Oh, does it work?
Not so far.
Okay,
so I've done it like 5 times. And it still keeps. I'll say this: it's better than the Final Fantasy shipping discourse that I was getting a lot of for a few days there.
Like relationship shipping?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, come on. You knew the answer to that question before you even asked it.
That stuff is vicious.
Look, we're ostensibly covering the industry. It could be some kind of other shipping happening. There's news coming up maybe about Final Fantasy.
No, there's no discourse about that.
But those people are at each other's throats.
Wait, like who's the right...
Like most of what was coming into my feed was just people saying like, hey, can we please be civil and less hateful over Clarith? And I don't remember what the Tifa equivalent is. Clefa.
What are we doing?
Wait, these are should Cloud be with Tifa or Aerith?
Yes, but I think there's probably plenty of other pairings that you could.
That's so funny because I had no idea you were going to say that. I had no idea that's going on. But I just the other day said the word Barreth to my daughter and son.
I'm sure that's a thing.
Yeah. And was like, oh, okay. Because I just thought it was a funny mushing together of things. But maybe now it's the best shipping there is. Give me Barreth. Give me Roud. Is that Cloud and Red? Cloud 13?
Cloudy. 13. Let's go.
There you go. Cloud 13. That's pretty good.
Cloud 13. People are being serious about that stuff? Like actually nasty?
Oh, dude.
Dude, I shouldn't surprise me. It shouldn't
surprise me.
I guess I have no idea. I'm glad I have no idea.
Well, you know now.
Yeah, turn off the internet.
Good luck getting rid of that knowledge.
No, it doesn't surprise me. It's just people get nasty over everything. All right. Those are the video games?
Those are the video games.
I'm excited. I'm going to go try and finish up Harold Halibut this weekend and clear my plate for maybe some Final Fantasy, maybe some Dyson Sphere.
It looked like it's fairly substantial from looking at the achievements.
Harold Halibut? I have no idea what that runtime could be. To me, it could be 4 hours or 15 hours.
I saw an achievement in there that mentions a 15-hour figure.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I can't remember what exactly it was.
I'm going to just say right now, bold statement, but having only played about 4 hours of it, or maybe 3, 15 sounds long.
Yes.
For what I have experienced so far. Unless
for what they are
really
actually doing.
Moving. Yeah. All right. Those are the games. We're going to take another break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about some news. We'll be right back. All right. We are back, and it is time for the news. Now, we've got updates for everybody out there, beginning with Sony's updates. You may have heard. Maybe you haven't heard. You probably have heard if you're listening to this. Sony is rumored to have been working on a PlayStation Pro that has been all but confirmed at this point. Hardware codenamed Trinity. It's going to probably launch as a PlayStation 5 Pro. If I were a betting man, I might put a little money down on that, but who knows? Maybe they'll change the name up. Some of the rumored specs for this thing seem to have also been confirmed pretty recently by The Verge. Better GPU, better ability for ray tracing. I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. They're upscaling their spectral, their PlayStation
Spectral Super Resolution PSSR.
Yeah,
everybody wants a 4-letter acronym now, so they can sound like DLSS.
Yes, their PSSR. Yes, I didn't even think about DLSS. So anyway, that's kind of the given news there. Like, you could probably expect this to be confirmed, I would say. Look, I ain't no newsman, but probably confirmed by Sony in the near future. Like,
like probably this summer.
Yeah,
you would think if it's coming out this year, I doubt they would wait past this, like the kind of old E3 window.
But the stuff we're going to talk about and kind of cover here a little bit more, which I think is more interesting, is what their expectation is for games that are moving into this system, because you want to have a pro launch. Let's just say maybe they're not going to have enough new games out there. Let's just say they won't have enough new games out there to maybe justify a PlayStation Pro launch window title thing. So you want games to be better on your PlayStation Pro. Give people a reason to say, hey, what are you going to get in your PlayStation Pro Enhanced game, which I guess is the label they are now offering to developers and publishers for meeting certain requirements.
Yeah, which I'm pretty sure is new. I feel like there was no indication, like consumer-facing indication for the PS4 Pro, what the games did, or if they even did anything. Like, there was no PS4 Pro Enhanced label or anything like that. That
like
I remember.
Officially, like slapped on a box or
right.
forward-facing.
Right, because then Microsoft did do the Xbox One X Enhanced thing, and I feel like I remember that being like, oh, great, it's nice for one of you at least to say if you're actually getting something out of this or not.
Right. So apparently this enhanced label, and this is from The Verge's story, and I'm going to quote some of it here because it's a lot of numbers and resolutions that they're going for. So the kind of nuts and bolts of it are you can increase the target resolution for your Pro version of the game that runs at a fixed resolution on a PS5, and this is quoting, or even increasing the target maximum resolution for games that run at a variable resolution on the PS5. That'll get you into this enhanced land. You'll also be able to get your frame rate up. So if your frame rate is better on the Pro Enhanced, or I guess it's PS5 Pro at this point, right? I guess we'll just call it that. PS5 Pro. That could get you the there's like a matrix of things, right? So I'm going to quote here because I'm going to get some of this wrong, so I'm going to use The Verge's quote here. That could mean we could see PS5 and Pro Enhanced games that can run between 1080p and 1440p resolution at 30 FPS on a base PS5 and run between 1280p and 2160p on the PS5 Pro at the same frame rate. A fixed resolution increase from 1440p to 2160p would also qualify as a PS5 Pro Enhanced game. Developers could also choose to enable ray tracing effects and get the PS5 Pro Enhanced label without improving resolution or frame rates. If a developer wants to target 60 frames per second instead of 30 frames per second with the same resolution, they may also qualify as a PlayStation 5 Pro Enhanced game. So
I guess each of those sounds like substantive enough to slap a label on there. That's not nothing.
So the article goes on to say, and this is a good point by them, quote, simply running a game at a more stable frame rate on a PS5 Pro is not enough for the enhanced label. And I think that's a good point. So like a more stable version of your PS5 Pro game without an enhancement apparently will not be enough to get this label. So
yeah, like unstable 30 to stable 30 doesn't cut it, which it shouldn't, I don't think, here.
Also, it says here, Sony also won't add the label to games that run with a variable resolution and see increased resolution on the PS5 Pro that doesn't improve the maximum resolution. Brad, can you explain what that means on a variable resolution that doesn't improve the maximum resolution?
Tons, like probably most games these days, don't run at a fixed resolution. They scale it up and down to maintain performance.
Okay.
So you could say like this game runs at a max of 1800p, but it scales down to blank, like 1280, whatever, 1440, whatever. Depending on how demanding the scene is and if you need to get the performance up. So they're just saying like, even if you scale down less, even with this extra power, you stick higher or closer to your top resolution more often. That's not enough.
You have to have a substantive increase.
You need to have gone above that original ceiling or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay. So there's some more details in here that maybe are a little less interesting on the consumer side, but developers will have to update the latest software development kit to take the benefits of this Pro's features.
Yeah, that's counter to what had been reported recently, which was that you wouldn't have to update your game on the back end like that to get better performance. But this sounds like
this goes on to say that some games that haven't been updated will still benefit. And I guess that is, maybe still baked in there in some way just from horsepower. I don't know, but maybe to hook into some of the new features, you need the SDK.
It's so that is for games that run a variable refresh. It looks like with this ultra boost mode. If it runs at variable refresh, then you probably will get higher frame rate there. But that's effectively saying like if your frame rate was uncapped previously.
Gotcha. You're just going to
get more.
And that's just beefier hardware probably.
Yeah, but like games that were capped at 30, for example, aren't immediately going to just exceed that without actual work being done, which probably means fewer old games are going to get updated than we thought, which is a bummer.
Stuff that's not actively kind of being worked on or like a service game or something like that.
Yeah, there's one other, like the top line point here actually is that like Sony is asking developers to create a PS5 Pro exclusive graphics mode that combines PSSR upscaling to 4K, 60 FPS, and like I'm adding the word substantial ray tracing effects. So that's like a pretty ambitious target to have games running at 4K 60 with a bunch of extra ray tracing. Like that's pretty huge for a console at this time. How many games are actually going to do that? Who knows? Who knows how many developers will comply with that request?
Yeah.
You think that'll be surfaced in a menu like a PS5 Pro mode?
That's kind of the whole thing. Like if you can achieve that, then that's everything. You're leaving nothing on the table. If you're doing 4K and 60 and a bunch of ray tracing and you can hold that, like that would just be the mode. I kind of don't see a need for other modes at that point.
Well, look, you probably want what was the one you liked? It was like 80. What was your
40.
40.
Yeah.
So what if you got 40 and not 60? Would you be happy with that?
I mean, I'll take 40 any day.
Okay.
For over 30, absolutely. But if you can hit, what I mean is if you hit 60, then that's kind of all you need.
Consistent. Look, consistency.
Yes.
This is all interesting stuff, and I think it just kind of remains to be seen what that means. I'm going to just assume first-party stuff will be out there. It's like, Horizon. Will Horizon be out there? Getting a PS5 Pro mode at 4K 60 with HDR, ray tracing?
That seems likely.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised to see that.
At that point, are you? I don't want to muddy the waters here by throwing a bunch of oranges into the apple
muddy
cart.
Away.
But like, is that basically at that point, like what we said? You're turning your quality mode into a performance mode. At that point, you're getting your
Pretty
quality
much.
at 60.
Yeah, like if PSSR is as good as they're acting like it. I mean, if it's like in the DLSS realm, then hitting 4K with that, and turning that into 60 FPS is kind of it's like the whole kit and caboodle. Like I said.
What if I like 30?
Can
I down clock?
I mean, that is like I'm going to say
Welcome
that's
to my world.
That's maybe not a huge group of people who would elect for a 30 mode when they had 60 as an option.
What did they? I feel like there was a time when they called it like cinematic mode, right? When
that was just damage control.
It's a different time.
Yeah.
I feel like I always like 30 until I play in 60, and then I'm like, no,
ain't that always the way?
Kind of better. Sometimes 60 in a video game, this is the same thing with like, it has that VHS quality at first because it looks so smooth. It's got that like soap opera style quality to it. But I very much can get used to it pretty quickly for me personally. Anyway, those are Sony's plans. I assume we will hear much more and see slides, PowerPoint presentation slides or something in, I guess they don't really do that anymore, but I was going to say in the summer, we will hear the marketing terms for all of these things and see what God of War looks like with full ray tracing.
Yeah, this thing sounds pretty ambitious. I'm curious to see like how it turns out on a technical level. I'm more curious to see what it looks like.
And what it costs.
Are they and what it costs, absolutely. The price, and they've got yet another chance to correct their mistake and redesign this stupid thing.
You're thinking like when you say what
physical
the console.
design.
I'm talking the industrial design of this thing. Like they already blew it with the Slim, but come on now. Third time's the charm.
Honestly, though, like out of all of these things that I'm most curious about, I just want to see what their market research is that tells them that they need to put another console out. Like, I want to see what those numbers are because I'm really not still convinced that there is enough of a market to justify putting out another revision of this hardware.
Especially if this thing is coming in at $600 or even $700.
I fucking hope it isn't, really.
Well, the disc one is still $500, so I feel like $600 minimum.
I mean, if they did a commensurate price drop for those older platforms and then made this one $500, I could see the case for it.
Yeah. This happens with this happened now that we're in the pro lands too, because this happened last time. I mean, you'll get people that'll push their new games to max out a pro and then be 30. I guess you probably won't get 1080 stuff on a 1080 30 on a pro because of the upscaling. That'll probably always have an option to push 4K 30
definitely
on that thing. But I'm kind of curious there too. Like, okay, now what does a developer do who's like, we're not going to hit 60 on this, but what do those games look like that push the outer limit of the pro? And are they allowed to do that? But yeah, I think they're going to keep the physical model of this console the same. I bet you still get the wings and the whole thing.
Fucking flared collar.
I think we still get it. I paid a lot of money for that design, I'm sure.
Overstuffed router looking ass.
I bet it's
Brad,
very similar.
You and I do not always agree on everything. You and I are maybe the most aligned on anything when it comes to the vision of this console. Like it is just whenever I look at it, if I don't actually laugh out loud, a small sneering smile crosses my face and just be like, God damn, what a fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I have to bring that thing up and down the stairs when we do PlayStation 5 stuff for the streams. And every time I unhook that thing, I definitely am like, this is a funky console, man. And then when I have to bring the Xbox down here, I'm like, this is just a utilitarian rectangle.
I know.
Yep.
The thing just sits on a shelf and looks pretty normal.
It's just a weird black box that sits up there. Maybe it's a little awkward looking, but it doesn't look like that.
Just an obelisk.
I guess this may have been confirmed in one of the Verge stories, so sorry if it has, but I'll pose the question here to you guys, and maybe you can confirm it or not. Have they said anything about including a disk drive in this Pro version?
I don't think they've talked about that. I'm sure I have to assume it's the same thing with the modular design.
So you think so? I would say if they're doing that form factor, this thing's probably going to look like that, near like the Slim, like the molds and stuff. If they can fit the cooling and the hardware in there, why?
I do not think it will be a major variance.
You're probably right. It's not like they're going to. It's not like they're going to redesign and put out a second version of that modular disk drive. It's probably going to have to conform such that thing will fit both.
It would make sense to me. That would be a weird thing, unless they just totally ditch the disk drive and make something that plugs in through a proprietary port or USB or something like that. Unless there's no disk coming on this thing, I would have to assume they make it so that thing could fit inside whatever.
Oh man, what a monkey's paw thing that would be. They're like,
no
hey, here's your Pro, no disk option.
No disk. I mean,
that would be a way to keep the cost down somewhat, not a ton, but it would help.
You guys, if you were to get this, would you get the disc-in version still at this point?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I've put a disc once in my PS5 ever. Yeah. Well, I put a couple of Blu-rays in there.
I am just trying to will the idea of people wanting disc drives again into reality. I know it's not realistic or ever going to happen, but I'm just going through my sheer financial will. I'm going to make the market speak. Yeah, sure. No, I'm not. I'm fucking not. I know I'm not. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That is what I am justifying it as.
I'm going to suspect, and I'm probably right on this, in this assumption, you can't buy the discless Slim and then put a third-party USB disc drive on that to play movie or Blu-rays, right?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. They're owning that chain on that?
Yes.
Because even if they changed the form factor, they make it discless, and they offer a first-party Sony USB disc drive, I would recommend to people, given the way these things always go, if that is a concern to you, you should buy that thing day one at the cost of it at day one, because that thing will probably last 3 months and then be impossible to find, and then people will resell it years later for ridiculous prices. I feel like that's like weird Sony peripherals always wind up in weird demand later, and you can't find them. That is the Sony PlayStation Pro, but that's not all the Sony news here. So we talked about this before as well. Sony has been doing a pretty good job of bringing their first-party stuff over to the PC with decent ports. I mean, we got Helldivers right there. But have you been missing a way to get trophies on the PC? Do you want another overlay? Did Sony have to figure out what key combination is not currently in use to pull up an overlay?
Apparently it's Shift F1.
It's a great podcast. Fantastic podcast.
I've heard good things.
That's right.
Yeah. It's good
That's
promotion.
Right.
Everybody should be Googling Shift F1 and like and subscribe. So apparently Sony is going to put in an overlay. Basically, it's a way to get your friends list and trophies and all that stuff on the PC. You'll have to log in, obviously, to your Sony account to have that stuff tracked. This is coming in Ghost of Tsushima's Director's Cut. That's the thing we're gonna see it on. It's gonna be on PC. It's gonna be on Steam and the Epic Store, as far as I can tell from this Video Game Chronicles story. Like, okay, sure, sure.
That's, executives keep making comments about like, hey, we need to be on more platforms.
Yeah.
Of course, they're talking about the PC, but this is like pretty interesting statement of intent that they've gone to this much trouble to integrate the whole PlayStation like middleware and social experience on PC now. Like you can get trophies. You get PlayStation trophies on the PC version now through this.
Yep.
And if you care about such things, which people who only play games on PC almost assuredly do not, but it's interesting to see them going this hard on PC this soon.
I'm trying to scan this story because I feel like I saw it either confirmed or this would be in the movement towards, also cross-save stuff. Like once you're logged into your Sony account, and if you're of a tier to, because they still gate
they
cloud
still
saves, right?
Make you pay for cloud saves, unfortunately.
I'm trying to see in this story, does it say this will include, or is that me wish
I don't believe so, but they absolutely could do that down the line. I'm looking at the PlayStation blog post, and they don't say anything about saves.
Okay, because that would be kind of nice too.
Yeah, they absolutely could do that if they want. Like Microsoft does that. That seems like there's something they should do if they're serious about being on PC.
Yeah. The other thing that we should say, and according to this Video Game Chronicles story, the trophies on the PS5, it's still not 100% clear if it'll be treated as separate from the PS5 version. So you'd hope that would be the case.
Yeah, it's hard
I didn't
to
realize
say.
that's the case for PS4 and PS5.
Yeah,
those are split out.
Any PS4 game that got a PS5 upgrade has a whole separate list of trophies.
Wild.
Which means in just about every case you can just port your save and load the game and get all those trophies again.
Oh wow, as like a whole separate like platinum or something.
Like it'll every trophy you got on PS4 will just ring up again as soon as you boot the game on PS5.
Okay.
Nice way to get your trophy level up if you care.
Yeah.
I have to imagine them going in on this is them doing their response to just sort of the current state of the console market, is that this is their version of the putting games on other platforms, which they are absolutely not going to do. This is just them realizing that they have to try and spread their stuff out more, and probably with greater expediency than maybe they have been doing up to this point, because some of these stretches where they have gone putting a game on PlayStation then putting it out on PC, it's been years between them, and it feels like now they are starting to be like, maybe if it wasn't that long, maybe you could have trophies. Maybe you could have some of the things that you would normally get on a PlayStation. We're still going to keep these off Xbox, but maybe there's other ways you can play this now. Yeah, maybe we might as well at least get 70% of the price for this, at least until it goes on sale. But so if they're going to get more serious about putting games on PC, this seems smart to establish more of a platform foothold there before they start doing that.
I think there's a lot of things going on. A lot of it we've covered. I think one of the other things to maybe keep in the back of mind is a lot of the movement now towards what it means to be selling directly through someone else's digital storefront for DLC and microtransactions. A lot of lawsuits going around. Of course, the big famous one was Epic and Apple, and like what is it legal to have your storefront in your game and go directly to your consumers without having like Steam to have it take a cut of a microtransaction, right?
Right.
And some of this may be laying groundwork for tying in your accounts for that process. I don't know if that's true or not, but it probably doesn't hurt them to have an infrastructure in place if something happens where, look, yes, buying the game on Steam is one thing, but if you're doing your microtransactions through our store and our interface, that's maybe they can get more of a cut there. I really don't know, but probably doesn't hurt them to have their literally have Sony's ecosystem tied into this game, especially for first-party stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, Xbox has it because you're playing on a Windows PC and it's just built into the operating system. I'm sure if Sony could get that rooted that deep, will Sony put a store on a PC? I don't think so. Not soon.
No. Not in the immediate future.
Not now.
No, probably. Now. I'm going to say probably never. I don't think they have the output. I don't think they have enough games coming out often enough to justify that.
Yeah, I mean, they have Helldivers, right? And Helldivers is a big success with a lot of microtransactions in it. Like they just released another war bond for Helldivers. I don't know if you saw that.
Did they?
Yeah, so it's the Demolition War Bond, and like those. Look, I'm sure if Sony could collect 100% of those PC microtransactions, they would be very happy to do so. But I do not believe that's the case.
I don't think anybody with that few games coming out, short of Rockstar, can get away with their own launcher. Like Rockstar can write their own ticket because of GTA Online.
You're probably right, and I would even add to that. Sony, for the most part, their first-party catalog is a lot of single-player narrative games without big multiplayer stuff. But that was their whole buy Bungie and get this online initiative going, and unfortunately,
buy Bungie to make live service games, and then cancel half of them.
Yeah. All right, that's the Sony stuff. We talked a little bit about it here previously when we were talking about games, but the Triple I initiative.
Yeah,
is that the triple indie game initiative? Is that what we're?
I mean, it's a play on AAA.
Yeah. And so these are games that are in some kind of middle ground. I mean, some of these were just indies.
These are just indies. Like it's just it's their way of doing a AAA style conference presentation, but for a bunch of different indies.
Right. Like they are just. I mean, they all look like good games, but yes, they are just indie games.
Yeah,
they're not inherently better than other indie games, I guess.
No, and you know, some of these games I was looking at the list and I was like, man, I don't know, some of these games maybe did better than a lot of the AAA games out there in terms of return on revenue.
Yeah.
But you guys have stuff. There are a lot of games in this list. Do you guys have stuff that kind of jumped out at you? What do you? Well, first of all, I should say, do you guys have any thoughts on this presentation? I think it was cool. I was like seeing new stuff.
It's always nice to see more avenues for companies like this to get to actually show their stuff to people. That isn't just like, here's a trailer on our YouTube channel, you know?
Yeah. Interesting timing to get this far out ahead of that Summer Games Fest E3 window.
Yeah.
I mean, it's smart because there's just not that much happening right now.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes sense to not try to get noticed in the middle of that mix, but I'm surprised they went like 2 months early as opposed to like maybe 2 weeks early or something. Because there is excitement that builds, I think, in the like last days before that I keep wanting to call it E3. You know what I mean?
Yes. But the other thing is that some of these games are like, if not out now, will be before Summer Games.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I think aren't there games in here that are out now even?
At least like the city building thing I mentioned was in here, and that launched into early access same day.
Right, and some of these I think are like new modes for existing games that are already out and stuff. So a lot
new
of this
DLC,
is actually,
that kind of thing.
Right, like timely with games that are out now.
So this is where I mentioned I saw that update for the Dyson Sphere program.
Yes,
that was in here. There were updates for I think Darkest Dungeon had a new mode in here, or Darkest Dungeon 2, I should say. Right?
Yeah, the current going version of it. Yeah.
Anything that jumped out at you guys that you want to talk about from this? Because again, there's a decent amount of stuff in here.
I would say the things that stood out most to me personally. I'm really into this game Kill Knight because it's just a game called Kill Knight about a knight that kills. I liked the look of the Laysara, the city builder, enough to go download it as soon as I watched that thing. What the Car looks kind of neat.
Yeah, that's from the What the Golf people.
Yeah.
Is it? Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Great.
That looked pretty cool. There was the Vampire Survivors fucking Contra DLC is very funny. Operation Guns.
That is pretty funny as like they did Castlevania DLC, right?
They didn't do official Castlevania DLC.
That's okay. That makes this even funnier. Then is this their first Konami related DLC?
I think it is.
That's amazing.
Maybe they're working their way up.
Like that game is such a I say this lovingly, a ripoff of like the trappings of Castlevania.
I mean, you want to know my honest theory here? Konami's not doing shit with Castlevania right now. Like, they haven't done a fucking thing with it in forever. And I bet when they went and they asked for Castlevania, and they said, well, what about Contra? We just put one of those out.
Right.
Interesting.
That's pretty funny.
Did you guys see that Dino Lords trailer at least?
Yeah, I did watch the Dino Lords trailer.
It's
that
a pretty
was pretty
funny
neat.
trailer. It's got a little bit of like, oh, this kind of Age of Empires-ish game, and then suddenly a dude on a T-Rex burst through the city wall.
Yeah.
Which was pretty good. That got me a little excited for that.
The Behind the Throne DLC for Old World, that 4X game, is coming out.
Is that game still going?
Yes, it is still going, and that DLC is, I think, probably the most. If what I read was correct, it is supposed to be the most substantial, I think, DLC offering they've done so far for it. And I have been meaning to go back to that game because I've not played it in a while, and this might be my excuse to finally go do that.
Yeah, I'm glad that is still going and is successful. That's Soren Johnson?
Soren
right?
Johnson's studio, Mohawk Games.
Right.
I don't know if it's like a big sales juggernaut or anything, but it seems like they are doing well enough that they are able to keep supporting it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There's a tower defense game. I think it's by the people who made Moonlighter, which is a game I really like.
Yeah, Cataclysmo is the one I was going to mention. It looks really cool, like visually, but it's like an RTS / castle builder / tower defense kind of defend your turf thing.
Yes.
Sounds extremely cool.
Very cool.
And is out in like 3 months.
Probably the thing that was the most surprising to me, and probably to a lot of people, was the next thing by Evil Empire, which is the Dead Cells folks.
Yes. What is it? The Rogue Prince of Persia is what they're calling it?
The Rogue Prince of... I don't know if it's the Rogue Prince of Persia or the Rogue Prince of Persia. Like a Prince of Persia story. But yes, it is the Rogue Prince of Persia, which, on the heels of that latest Prince of Persia, maybe a little less like, oh, okay, that's a cool way to go with Prince of Persia, because it kind of reminds me of that. What was the name of the one that just came out?
Lost Crown. Yeah,
it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Lost Crown side-scrolling gameplay. Very actiony, very fluid, very kinetic.
Yeah, you can definitely see the Dead Cells influence in how fluid a lot of the movement is.
Yes,
in this, and like the radius on the bombs as they explode. It definitely has got some of that DNA.
So, this one is it's a roguelike. It is, I would assume you're going to be going on runs, and I assume that will be probably because of some time power, because you're rewinding time. The trailer has a really nice animated intro, and I'm looking forward to it. I mean, Dead Cells people do great work. I really liked what happened last time we combined a more actiony side-scroller Prince of Persia, so I'm on board.
Yeah, it looks cool. It really makes me wonder what is up with the split between the Dead Cells developers, because originally it was Motion Twin that made Dead Cells, and then they kind of like spun off Evil Empire, I think, to continue supporting Dead Cells, but now it seems like, because Motion Twin is making that game Wind, God, what is it? It was announced at the Game Awards. It's not Windswept, is it Windblown?
Jeez, I don't remember.
Yes, Motion Twin is making Windblown. Motion Twin, like I said, was the original Dead Cells developer, but now... I guess Motion Twin and Evil Empire just make separate games now. Whatever business relationship there is on the back end.
And there was also, gosh, I'm scrolling through this.
Well, there's one big one here that we haven't talked about.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that they led with Slay the Spire 2, which they should have, because that's a huge announcement.
Yeah. Well, before we get to that, I just want to say, I think there's an update for Risk of Rain, and also isn't the Dead Cells guy coming into Risk of Rain? Isn't there like a crossover?
I believe that's right.
So they're all over this. Dead Cells, indie darling, all over this.
It ain't dead yet.
Is Dead Cells in Risk of Rain, or sorry, Slay the Spire? That's also, I should mention, my son playing Slay the Spire now. He picked it up and really likes it.
That game's great. I never put the time in to get good at it though. Like,
get good.
It seemed like
I sucked at Dead Cells from beginning to end, but I kept playing it.
Do you mean Dead Cells or Slay the Spire, Brad?
Oh, I was talking about Slay the Spire.
Oh, Slay the Spire. So I never really played Slay the Spire or got very into it, but I know like most of the people I know who play video games got very into it.
It's awesome. I really enjoyed it, but boy, can your runs just end brutally.
Yeah.
In a way that feels kind of demoralizing if you don't really learn how to min-max your builds well, was my impression. At any rate, this is huge. Like, Slay the Spire, obviously a massive hit. I was kind of curious if they were doing something different, though.
They didn't show gameplay in that trailer, right? It's all animated, kind of a big animated thing. And I think it's not until 2025 when it hits early access. So they on it. They
were in the news as being, you may remember, they were super vocal when all the Unity bullshit went down last year. Because Slay the Spire was made on Unity, and they were one of, in fact, they were the developer first who came out and was like, "Fuck this!
Like we
are rebasing our next game on Godot. Fuck you." And I wonder if they actually went through with that. And it turns out their next game was Slay the Spire 2. That was the point where I was like, I wonder if they're making something new. I wonder if Slay the Spire was so huge, maybe they've got the runway to just make whatever they want. But I guess whatever they want is a sequel.
And it has been some time since Slay the Spire.
Yeah, it's been quite a while.
Again, I think it's on Game Pass. I think that's where my son is playing it. He said, "What is that?" And I was like, "You should try it. You should see if you like a deck building game. A deck building."
Does he?
He does.
All right. Well, there you go.
Really likes it. Yeah. I mean, look, like you said, a lot of people like Slay the Spire. I didn't get into it. I like Monster Train though. Maybe I should try Slay the Spire again. Get back into it. Should probably get back into Dead Cells, seeing as how much of Dead Cells is all over the place. Yeah. Though I think the Prince of Persia thing was probably the biggest thing for me to be like, oh damn, again, and that Dino Lord thing seemed real dumb and silly because look, if it's an RTS with dinosaurs, people riding dinosaurs, I'm kind of in.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to bring up from the AAA?
New Never Alone.
Oh yeah,
sequel.
That was kind of surprising.
I don't remember Never Alone. What
I do.
Yeah.
Another one I didn't play a ton of, but I did play. But I remember it having like a very very excited audience that liked that game a lot. And yeah, again, a decade later, here's another one.
Okay. It came out a while ago?
Yeah, 2014.
Okay.
Yeah, God, yeah, I was gonna say that's like a very early PS4 game.
Jeez. Okay. It is possible I have just forgotten about Never Alone then.
And Hyper Light Breaker coming to early access.
Yes. When does it have a date for when?
I think this summer.
Okay. Curious about that one. I wonder if these games that are here, I wonder if a lot of these mean they won't be in some games, Summer Games Fest announcement. If
probably not. Again, this is not the kind of stuff. Slay the Spire may be accepted. This is mostly not the kind of stuff I would expect to attract a marquee placement in that.
Yeah.
But didn't the Castlevania Dead Cell stuff get announced during that? I can't remember.
That might have been on like a PlayStation stream or something.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see how this all goes. Look,
okay.
Video games are still getting made and announced and updated apparently, and having new modes.
Yes, Castlevania is still a name that curries favor. I was just reading on Chris Kohler's Twitter accounts. A bunch of like factory sealed, like perfect condition NES games were sold at some estate sale.
I saw this.
Oh wow!
Last week or two, and whoever got them at that estate sale, presumably for peanuts, went and eBayed all of them immediately. These were like collectors who were like elderly in the 80s.
Okay.
And just wanted to collect NES games and keep them in pristine condition, like with the hang tabs and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Boxed factory sealed copy of Castlevania 1 for the NES sold for $90,000.
90,000.
Yeah.
Yes. Almost six figures.
Look, I know we look. I know we don't need a soapbox or a platform for wealth disparity in this country, but that when it starts getting real is when all the nerds that we grew up with in the 80s and 90s now are billionaires and they're out there soaking up all of our nostalgia. That's when it starts getting very personal, when it's like, oh yes, no, I'm also in my mid 40s, but I made $1 billion and now I can go buy a pristine inbox power pad and light gun and Castlevania thing, all the things that I also loved, and all the Transformers and all the G.I. Joes mint inbox that I also want. And so that you normal people who also are trapped by your nostalgia can never have. So that's why you gotta break the system.
That's how it happens.
That's how it happens, man.
I can tell you, a copy of Kid Icarus also went for about $82,000.
Good Lord.
Sold. This is sold.
Yes, sold.
And again, these people did a very nice job, it seems like, taking care of these games for years, and then at some point did not communicate to their family, this is what these things are worth.
Maybe they didn't have family. Maybe they're just like
no, because that's who's selling this stuff at the estate sale.
Oh, it could just be who was ever in charge, but was it their family selling it? It could just be somebody who has to.
You're right. It could be a bank, I guess, but like it seems likely to me this is just a family that doesn't know what this stuff is worth.
Could be, or it could just be like the executor of the will being like, I don't know, Nancy and Fred had this game thing going on. I feel like at this stage, if you have family, all it takes is a cursory search online to be like, no, this is sealed. We should know better.
I can tell you right now, if I were to die tomorrow, I have enough people in my life that would know
these
that
masks.
some of the, well, if not that, then some of the other things I have around here, like that stuff should at least be researched.
Yeah.
But not everyone has that, and not everyone has a person that is willing to sit there and pour through every single, expensive and fascinating thing that your family member owned before just saying, we got to get everything out of this house so we can sell it.
100%. Also, we need to sell this house because the taxes on this, we can't afford this, and we just need to cover the costs on all of the things you have to spend money on if somebody passes unexpectedly or hasn't planned, and B, you might be like, I want to be done. I mean, look, it happens, and you just sort of like, please take it, have an estate sale.
Yeah. That said, that's irresponsible, but I also understand how that happens.
I wish that's somehow, it belongs in a museum. It belongs.
No, you know what it belongs? You know what it actually belongs?
What?
Out of the box and in someone's console 35 years ago.
Get out of my box.
These games are meant to be played.
No, they're not. They're meant to be looked at and cherished. He doesn't drive it. He doesn't play it. He just looks at it and rubs it with a diaper. That's what these.
Yeah, and that dad was supposed to be a cautionary tale. Do people not realize that was the moral of the whole fucking Cameron storyline in Ferris Bueller? Is that dad actually is kind of an asshole?
Somewhere there's a kid who could never play Castlevania because they had to stay sealed in a box.
That's right.
You have all these games. You have every NES game. You can't play them. You're not allowed to play them.
This copy of Burger Time went for over 11,000 because apparently Burger Time is quite rare.
Like
specifically in box, I think new is extremely rare.
There's an NES Burger Time?
Yeah, there was. I didn't own it, but I definitely played it.
Does it say in the story, the write-up about this sale, was it a complete NES collection, or is it just...
This was just a Twitter thread. I didn't see any story attached to it.
My understanding is that if it wasn't complete, it was very close.
Really?
Probably pretty big. I bet. I have no idea how many games there were. I mean, there were some like TurboGrafx games in there as well. I bet whoever got these made at least $250,000 selling these.
That's like the kind of score like people fucking like work their whole lives for, basically.
That's a pretty serious score. The most scandalous thing about this entire situation, though, is that Castlevania sold for over $90,000.
Yeah.
This copy of Castlevania 2: Simon's Quest.
Yeah.
$2,125.
People know the difference. People know.
I bet there's probably a lot of sealed copies of Castlevania 2: Simon's Quest floating around out there because people are like, they probably printed a bunch of those and like sitting in a storeroom, boxes of those, like new old stock somewhere, being like, I'll give you a sealed copy of Castlevania 2 if you want. It's $90,000 for Castlevania. Gosh.
$90,000 for one sealed copy of Castlevania.
Again, I don't mind the selling of it. I think the idea that
I don't like the inflated value. I don't, because it's just not. It's just not sensible at all.
I think it's a bubble. It's fake.
I think it's just the idea that, like, look, I collect a lot of stuff. It's the idea that somebody has $90,000 to spend on it makes me mad, jelly-mad, where it's just like, man, somebody dropped $90,000 to complete. Not even complete, just add to their collection is like a level of disposable income that, and look, unless that person's like, I just mortgaged my house so I can get this copy of Castlevania and be like, all right, well, you made some
I wouldn't
choices.
Do that personally, but hey, you go, you want to bake bread, go with God.
You made some choices in your life, that's fine. All right, let's move on from that story. Castlevania, Konami, Final Fantasy Rebirth. Like I said before, my son is finishing up Remake, is now in intermission. I am on Rebirth. All we have to do is join forces, and then we can wait. It's the third one in the game, so it makes sense. 3 years.
3 to 4?
Yeah.
That Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Ultimania book came out in Japan with a bunch of interviews in it and stuff, and it sounds like they're moving pretty quickly into the third installment. Nomura is already in there saying that the story is done and that they're probably going to start voice recording soon.
Yeah.
And Kitase thinks they will get it done in 3 years, which is what Rebirth did or took, but they also spent a year on intermission, apparently. So there's no DLC announced for Rebirth yet.
Not yet.
But I don't think they announced intermission for a good while after Remake came out either, so that doesn't mean there won't still be DLC.
Yeah.
For whatever they're going to call it. It was Reunion, but now people have got all kinds of cockamamie ideas for what the third one's going to be called.
I mean, they shout Reunion so many times in this damn game, they should just call it Reunion.
But considering how much of intermission showed up in Rebirth in terms of mechanics and stuff, I wouldn't be shocked if there is another DLC that they kind of fold stuff into the last game with here.
So we're obviously not going to talk spoilers. We're not going to talk about plot. But from what I have played so far, and I have had people come at me and be like, anywhere from you're only 30% done to like, oh, you're like more than halfway done. You think they get this done in one more installment?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They committed to that from the beginning.
Yeah, but I'm saying, does it happen?
I don't think there's enough game to split it into 2 more games.
Okay, you think there's plenty of room to even pad out a third whole installment?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not the expert. I feel like this third one would probably have the least padding of any of them.
Okay, if they try to cover all the ground.
Yeah,
from what's left.
Yeah.
So 3 years.
Yeah, like this kind of maybe sort of answers the question of will they make it this generation to finish it? And it seems like probably yes.
Still pretty close. Is this a PS5 Pro exclusive? Does this have a nice PS5 Pro mode?
Definitely not an exclusive, but yes, this absolutely. I would expect Rebirth probably to get some kind of Pro support.
Yeah,
which would be cool. But anyway,
do you think this gets on the next gen? Maybe not on this one, maybe on this one. Maybe it's a crossover thing. A complete package edition.
Gosh, I don't know.
I mean, they sold the first one and this one for $70, right?
Yeah, I feel like that's like a next gen. That's a PS6 release, if anything.
Yeah.
And even then, I don't know, man.
It'd be cool to have like a if you could do it in one package, like with all the intermissions and stuff in between as one seamless thing for a 300-hour game.
Yeah, I bet they would still just like grant
Separate
you
launchers.
titles, like grant you the entitlement for all 3 separately.
Sure.
In the store or whatever.
They're probably just different enough with the UI. They could do the work. I don't know. It'd be cool. 3 years. Finally, now I have some time to finish it.
Yeah, maybe 4, depending on DLC. But yeah, that was the joke. Will we finish in time?
Yeah.
The other thing is, like, sales numbers have been floating around, and some analysts out there have been suggesting that Rebirth is underperforming a bit.
Still probably doing fine, right?
How that affects? Well, it's underperforming what Remake did.
Well, I would expect that.
Which, it's a sequel.
Yeah.
To an extent, it makes for good headlines.
I bet there are also a lot of people that are just waiting for that game to go on sale before continuing on.
Yeah,
or just didn't finish Remake haven't bought in yet, or might at this point be waiting for the third one.
And according to this story on Video Games Chronicle, I didn't know this, but it is the 30th anniversary for Final Fantasy VII in 2027.
So. Oh yeah, I'd even put that together. Yes, if they get it out in 2027, that would be the anniversary.
It would.
So, could be what they're aiming for there.
Now I don't know a lot about marketing. But it seems to me an anniversary of this magnitude might be a good time to put out a third Final Fantasy VII.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why I made this Square Enix marketing person from Texas, but takes all kinds.
Finally here, moving on from Final Fantasy Reunion, Remake, Rebirth, whatever they're going to call it. You guys watch any of that Fallout 4?
Not yet, but I definitely...
You mean the Amazon series? Not yet.
Oh, yeah, Fallout the series.
Yeah.
My girlfriend loves
Fallout the series.
My girlfriend loves Fallout. I'm waiting till I get home, but I really want to watch that. I'm like shocked at the reaction to that show.
It's also apparently a lot hornier than anyone was expecting, which I think might actually be part of the appeal.
Yeah, that's, it's probably just smart business these days to put some of that in there.
Yeah.
But like the trailers looked quite good. I mean, setting aside whatever arguments about like Bethesda Fallout versus old Interplay Fallout, and is it pure, is it real Fallout or not, blah, 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 whatever. But,
not here for those conversations.
But if you want something that looks like the Bethesda games, those trailers really did it. And then sure enough, the show came out and like people seem over the moon about it. And I'm pretty excited to watch it.
And it's Amazon, right? Putting that up?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I bring that up is because there is a Fallout 4. Like I gave away the goose there in the beginning. Fallout 4. I had forgotten about this. I didn't know that this was a thing that was planned, had a date, but there was an update, a current gen update for Fallout 4 planned.
Yeah. They announced this years ago. Like,
okay.
I think I'm the only person that actually cares about this, and I don't even know why I care, because I don't know that I'm ever going to play Fallout 4 again, although I've kind of told myself I might at some point.
It's a good game.
God, they might have announced this like early in this console generation, which is almost 4 years old now. But yeah, they've been saying forever they were going to upgrade Fallout 4 to get native PS5 and Series X versions.
Okay.
And that is finally actually happening this month.
So up to this point, it had not borne any real fruit to speak of.
No, that's just something they mentioned ages ago and then delayed and delayed. April 25th, you'll get your like native next gen, current gen, whatever versions of Fallout 4.
Jeez, that's like a week away.
Yep. Also, they're doing a big overhaul of it on the PC, which apparently is going to break mod compatibility, which people are super not happy about.
No, why would you do that?
And apparently Fallout London, which is this super ambitious fan mod, like not total conversion, but
very heavy conversion, yeah.
Fan, what do you want to call it? Total conversion is such a dated 90s term.
Yeah. I'm trying
to think of what else to call it.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think, fan campaign, fan storyline. I think it's got voice acting and everything. Like, I think they've had to delay the release of their mod because they don't know how this overhaul is going to affect compatibility.
Jeez.
So kind of a mess on PC that people aren't thrilled about. But anyway, that console update's finally coming out.
Well, at least someone will be happy.
Is there like video or anything of it? Is there like a trailer for it?
Of London?
No, of this update. Like what's
new
in it? Or
no, I mean it would just be basically video of a pretty good looking version, PC version.
Sure, show me the good looking PC version.
It's just 4K or not even 4K. They didn't even say that, but like 60 FPS and higher resolution and stuff.
All right,
closer to the PC version, basically.
You think this has anything to do coming out with the reception, or this was always going to come out when this series hit?
Oh, everybody's been assuming for ages that they would put it out around the TV show.
Okay.
Pretty much since the TV show was announced, people are like, oh, I bet they're holding that update for that.
Yeah. I mean, look, you can't just turn a thing around, in a 2 weeks, but I was wondering if like, no, you release this now. It's not ready. You release this now. What's the soonest you can release this? I don't know, like 2 weeks from now. Do it. We
got 2 weeks ago. Do it. Get it done.
You remember the last time somebody was talking positively about Fallout? It's been a long time.
It's been
you
some
do this
time.
now. Do you think any show stuff comes into 76? Is that what the online one is?
76 is the ongoing one, but
Yeah.
that's set in Appalachia. And I don't know really where the show is, other than that I know some of the New California Republic and like New Vegas adjacent stuff is mentioned or shown in the show. So I assume it's like Midwest, maybe.
I saw a sign for like Hollywood or something, I think, in the
Okay, it must be West Coast-ish then.
Here's the thing. If you have a Fallout that is set in Appalachia and you have a television show that features Walton Goggins, there is a very easy crossover you can do. Ghoul Boyd Crowder from Justified.
Okay, I don't know enough about these things to
Justified
back it
takes
up
place
here.
in Kentucky, in Appalachian country.
Okay.
Walton Goggins is the primary antagonist, but also longtime, let's just say rival of the main character of that show.
Okay.
And now also Walton Goggins is in the Fallout show as a ghoul.
The ghoul,
So I'm just saying,
So
you combine two things.
Big tie-in.
I'm saying this is the best thing that you could possibly do for Fallout 76 at this point.
So this is an Amazon show. I still am amazed that this is still happening. I don't know. This is outside of the Fallout stuff, but I thought that like that gold rush was kind of over in the like we greenlight all the video game shows on the prestige services.
I mean, fair, they probably greenlit the show like 4 years ago.
Yeah, you're probably
yeah,
right.
but also Last of Us has like given that stuff a new lease on life.
I guess so.
Like I think the fact that I think there's going to be a new land grab now.
Well, and
You
on
do
top of
have
that, like the animated stuff on Netflix, like Castlevania did well, and that Cyberpunk animated
Cyberpunk
series
did well.
Yeah, like I shouldn't discount those, but there is a certain prestige to live action, and also it's like harder to get right, I think.
Witcher did well at first, but then kind of fell off, right?
Yeah, I didn't watch past the first season, which I enjoyed well enough, but
yeah, like that's good. I love video games in terms of. I just stop there. I don't have to caveat it. Everybody knows why I might not love video games sometimes, but sometimes it's cool to see stuff hit this permeate out, you know?
Yeah,
also,
I don't mind it.
It's just very funny to me that Last of Us is kind of held up as a thing. I mean, like, I only watched like one episode of that show, and I thought it was like, oh, this isn't bad. But like, the main thing is that like it seems like the way that they have revolutionized video games on television is to just not be bad. Like it's just
not be bad.
It's not bad. They made a totally competent one of these kinds of prestige shows, and suddenly it's like everything's back on the rails.
Yeah, it sounds like in both cases they stuck pretty close to the source material, which might have something to do with it. Like I never watched Last of Us because it sounded like they stuck so close that I was like, I know that whole story already. I've already played those games. I don't necessarily need to see it told again.
But I think it's sticking close without like being dogmatic about it, without making sure you hit every single beat of the original source material to make what works in a video game. Like you don't want Joel just fighting clickers for 2 hours, right? Because like that's not fun. You do one clicker encounter, show what the clicker is, and then you move on and do the other stuff. I think the other thing that's interesting is you take these universes that are interesting and you flesh them out and now fully realize these characters with, I think like you're saying, Alex, good actors and good production values, and don't write dog crap scripts for them. And these are interesting universes where stuff is fun. And like, I'm going to go back to
The Last of Us. There's nothing fun in The Last of Us,
no,
but yes, you're right.
I'm going to go back to this $90,000 Castlevania owner. You're appealing to people who are now adults and who have disposable income and subscription money and making the stuff that they grew up with, right? That they are like, oh, yeah, Last of Us. I love that thing. I love Fallout 4. I love The Witcher. I love this stuff. Though I think there's also, maybe it's older than I think. There's a, what's the one? So sus, this was not the killer game.
Among Us.
There's that Among Us cartoon.
Yes,
that's coming out. Turn everything, monetize it all.
Also, you're seeing like a lot more renowned creatives. I mean, put whatever stock you want into that, but like more like well-known creative types getting attached to video game stuff, right? Like Craig Mazin, the Chernobyl guy, did the Last of Us series.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jonathan Nolan was one of the main writers on the Fallout show.
Both of those are people who have also had some misses in their career. They're not necessarily like bulletproof showrunners, but
definitely not.
In this case, it seems like they nailed what they were going for.
Yeah, but I think there's also like I don't want to spend too much time here, but I think it's interesting to say video games penetrated this people's brains like 20 years ago, like hit the mainstream like 20 years ago. These people might all actually have familiarity with these products, and not like we used to get 20 years ago when video game movies were made.
Oh,
in, like, the Uwe Boll genre, whereas like these people in Hollywood had no idea what they were making.
No. All these people that are making this stuff now are probably, if not people who directly played these things, at least played things like them when they were,
totally
our age. And like, that's the thing, is that like the generation of Hollywood that is running these shows and these movies and these studios are people who grew up with this stuff, not people that have to have it explained to them.
Right.
Oh yeah, we have a Kingdom Hearts fan in Congress. We are through the looking glass.
Yeah, we're done.
As a society,
as a country, we're over with
on all of this stuff.
The first Keyblade in Congress.
But not the last. That is going to do it for the news. Interesting stuff there. I do want to watch that Fallout series. I wonder.
It's the first thing I'm actually like, you know what? I'm going to sit down and watch this at some point because I have to know what it is that it's doing that people like so much.
I did watch a decent amount of the Last of Us one. I found it, like the games, I found it pretty depressing.
It's bleak. Yeah,
it's bleak, and I was like, oh, okay. I think also I'm just very familiar with the games in a way that's like that story in the games did it for me. Like I'm okay. I don't need a retelling. I don't need to see this again. I thought it was actually a very heavy narrative game, or like trucked on the narrative more for me. Even though the gameplay was fine, it's a story game.
Yeah, definitely. Whereas the Fallout show, as far as I know, is telling a new story.
Unless they're going into VATS all the time, and then
apparently there's like all kinds of mechanics references in this thing.
Okay, great. That is the news. We also have an email address here, podcast@nextlander.com, podcast@nextlander.com, podcast@nextlander.com. Brad, do you want to kick it off with the emails?
Yes, I've got one here. If I can find the window on this MacBook. Where did I put that?
Just type into the bar, type email, like they do in Mission Impossible.
Email.com.
Pull up Spotlight and type in Shredder. Jeff writes in, Shredder looks like a Karen.
Okay.
That fabulous sparkle onesie with the shoulder pads and the matching perfect bob. Shredder's a Karen.
Yeah, if you treat the helmet as like kind of a bobby haircut, that's a very like upper middle class Midwestern woman haircut.
Sure. He's also got a bit of the I want to speak to your manager entitlement.
Definitely. Yes. These how come these mutants got their pizza before I did? Ma'am, they were here before you. I've been here. I come here all the time. And also it's Shredder, please. These mutants have been here. Hey, put your phone down. Put your phone down. Are you filming the Shredder? Put your phone down.
Just going to keep shaking my head.
You're shaking your head. I can hear you shaking your head through the microphone. Alex, you got an email as well.
I do. This was addressed to me, but I kind of want to read it because it's a kind of an amazing story. I'm only going to read a chunk of this because there's a lot of setup here. I'm just going to quickly walk you through this because the thing I'm referencing here, Vinny, you probably remember this story. Brad, I don't think you were ever clued in on it. Do you remember when I went to Japan, Vinny?
I do remember when you went to Japan. I remember when you went to Japan, and I remember you getting... I'm sorry, this is what I remember most from you going to Japan, being served by a puppet frog.
Yeah. Yes. That is exactly what this is pertaining to.
Oh, okay, great. Okay.
Yes, I went to an insane restaurant that my partner Sam found that used to be near Shimbashi Station called Kagaya, that was run by this one-man lunatic and his mother at the time. I don't know if she's still working with him or not, but so he would serve you dinner, but he would also launch into a series of comedy skits and other weird behaviors, like dry humping his customers and things like that. It's performance art. Anyway, I went to it. It was a very memorable meal. I told the story on the Beastcast. Our friend Jack here from Chicago also went there. So I'm going to glide over some details here, but basically what Jack says here is that he was on an East Asian trip with a woman that he was seeing at some point that when something happened, and he did the rest of the trip on his own, and he had reservations to go to this restaurant, Kagaya, which has changed locations since I went there, and I think might actually just be in someone's house now. But he was like, I'm by myself. I don't know if I should still go to this. So here's where I'm going to pick up on the email. You should know the owner only takes reservations via phone. He charges a flat fee per person, and he meets his patrons at a train stop about a block away from his shop. I was appointed to meet him at a station off the Tokyo line at 7:20. I got there quite early and passed the time by listening to all of you. Thank you. 7:20 came, and sure enough, the owner came walking down the street, presumably looking for two people. Seeing no obviously foreign couples, he turned to me and said, "Are you Jack?" I said yes. And I informed him that my guest wasn't coming, but I would still pay for two people, and I don't mind if I have to sit alone or sit with strangers. He said it was no problem and led me down the street to the front door of his restaurant. We enter. The place is deserted. There is not a single soul in this building besides the two of us. In the center of the room is a single table with two chairs. It turned out my absent guest and I were the only two people booked for the entire night.
Oh my God.
Feeling like the dumbest man on earth and not wanting to make this nightmarish situation any worse, I asked no questions and sat at the table as instructed, resigned to whatever was to come. For the 2 hours that followed, This man did every single insane comedy bit that he had planned for the night for me and me alone, all while preparing a 5-course meal between bits and feeding me drink after drink of plum liqueur, which I readily downed, trying to numb the social terror. Toward the end of the night, he started making conversation with me, asking me about my trip, if I watched any sports, where I'm from, etc. He eventually asked how I heard of his shop. I said it was from a podcast from someone named Alex Navarro. He smiled and said, verbatim, "Ah, yes, he is Internet Boy?"
Well, I think he got your title for the podcast. He is Internet Boy.
I told this story, like, I read this email last night. I told this story to my partner, again, who was the one who found this restaurant in the first place, and I have not heard her laugh that hard in months.
He is Internet Boy.
Just howled at this.
Oh, is he Internet Boy?
I am Internet Boy.
Is dog on bed?
Yes.
I need to go call somebody about a merch store. Like, how do we not have it? He is Internet Boy.
Well,
with
we
the
do
picture.
now.
Yeah.
I am Internet Boy. And to the owner of Kagaya and to our friend Jack in Chicago, I'm glad you had a good time. Sorry about whatever happened on your trip, but at least that guy is still out there doing his thing.
Okay. Alex, since you've been there before and you were there with
I was at their original location. Again, I've never been to this man's house.
Would you go, knowing what you do about now your experience and this experience, would you go for the one-on-one experience, or is that too much?
I think I would need at least Sam with me.
You would not one-on-one
ride
too
that one
much.
out. Yeah,
Okay.
that's too much for, like, I'm already socially awkward. I don't speak Japanese, really. I don't think I could handle being in a room with that guy by myself for 2 hours. I think it would be too much.
Was the food good?
It was pretty good. Like, it's a home cooked meal. You know, it was like mostly like small plate dishes and stuff, but it was pretty tasty.
What kind of cuisine?
Just like, you know, Japanese home cooking. A lot of like steamed vegetables and like, you know, pickled things and stuff like that.
But it's an experience, right? It's a comedy bit is happening all around.
Oh, it's an experience.
Yeah.
I met Deke.
Is that
you remember
frog?
Deke, right? Deke.
Oh,
it's the frog suit. It's the frog. It's the frog.
Yeah.
He burst through that fucking wall and started dry humping his patrons while wearing a frog suit.
I'm trying to think for you.
Yeah.
Is it better or worse if he knows your name? If he knows your Internet
He
Boy?
knows it now.
No, I'm saying if you went there for this one-on-one or two-on-one meal, would you want to be undercover?
Do I want to know him to know going in that Internet Boy is coming to visit?
That Internet
is
Boy
what you're
is here.
asking. Yes.
Yes.
And the answer is, actually, because I want to know how that's going to go.
Great. Fantastic. We got to get you to Japan. Let's do this.
I've been saying for a while, we should just do a Japan trip.
Man, I haven't been to Japan 16 years.
16?
It's been almost 10 for me.
We went in 2008, remember?
Sure.
We went to TGS first year Giant Bomb.
Yeah. We go 2 years in a row for Giant Bomb or just the
I don't think so.
I thought we did 2. I can't remember.
I distinctly remember the biz development guy agog at the number we quoted him for what the trip was going to cost.
It's not cheap to go to Japan.
No, not with multiple people, especially.
Great. Fantastic. What's the name of the place again? If people
Kagaya, Kagaya.
Okay, and it sounds like
you got to look up where it is now, but just make sure you call ahead.
And it does sound like I know you skipped some of this email. Jack had a good time.
He seems to cherish this as a strange and wonderful memory. So I say I'm glad I could help facilitate that.
I bet it's at the very least something you don't forget pretty easily.
I haven't forgotten, and I was there with other people.
Look, I haven't forgotten the frog.
And you weren't even there.
I wasn't even there. That is going to do it for the emails. That is podcast@nextlander.com, podcast@nextlander.com. Got some stuff to talk about here. First thing I will say is we are getting very close to our Watchcast reunion with
the return, if you will,
of Twin Peaks. So we have just recorded our last Watchcast episode of Mission Impossible, which ends our TV series that were turned into the movie.
Doesn't end it because we're kind of transitioning.
Transitioning, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, our transitional one. But the next one, so that'll go up on this coming Monday when we're off. And then we've got Fire Walk with Me coming on after that. So that'll be not this Monday, but the Monday after. And then, Alex, there's a bonus episode, yeah? The Missing
Pieces?
Pieces?
We're going to do a bonus episode for the Missing Pieces, which is the deleted scenes and extended scenes collection that David Lynch edited together. That will go up around the same time.
So you can check all of that out. Again, that's going to be on patreon.com/Nextlander. And then we're taking a break for a week. And then we'll be back with the next season of Final...
with Twin Peaks: The Return, the whole thing. And
the final season.
That whole schedule is up on the Patreon if you want to see what everything is kind of mapped out for the next few months.
That's over at patreon.com/Nextlander. We've also got a new Never Been a Better podcast that I'm in the process of editing that should be up this Friday. You can check that over on the Patreon. Of course, we've got the Ramblecast up there. And then next week, we'll be off, but we can still find the Ramblecast,
and
Watchcast, and the podcast, which will be a rerun of an earlier episode of Never Been a Better Podcast in the main feed. And that'll be up next week. And again, for that stuff, you can go check out Watchcast, Ramblecast, Planorama, the Q&A, all of that stuff over at patreon.com/Nextlander, where you can find any tier that suits your lifestyle, whether you just want to support us and you just want to keep us going, or you're out there buying $90,000 versions of Castlevania. We've got a whole range of things there just for you.
You can buy a $90,000 unopened me if you want. That's fine.
Yeah.
You know, we have a tier for you where you can get a $90,000 box quality sealed, factory sealed version of me.
New old stock. We don't have that tier currently, but there is one tier there that gets their names read on this here show, and that tier is the Mysterious Benefactors tier. And Alex Navarro, would you read our Mysterious Benefactors for this week?
I will. I just want to again emphasize: if you buy the $90,000 me tier, you don't get your name read on here. No one gets to know who owns me.
There are different tiers.
Yeah, different tiers.
Yeah.
Our Mysterious Benefactors for this week are Sean Miller, RRE, Infelicitous Rips, Kelly F., Brian Lucier, Skywarp, John Hubbard, Evan Cook, Mark Wilhelm, Jerry Lee, Deirdre Plays Warframe Now, I guess, Gary Pejsky, Robert Fisher, Bunny Crimes, Jad Rita, Statics, Fantasticasm89, Raz Glaze 2, Brian Murphy, Randy Duax, Andrew Tiebkin, Alex Wu, It Me JP, Edward Chick, Andrew Slosky, Steve Lynn, Matthew Herrig, David Campos, and Tyler Treese.
Thanks to our Mysterious Benefactors, and thanks to everyone who has supported us over at patreon.com/Nextlander. Coming up this week, I'm going to be streaming with Abby tomorrow. I was thinking about getting into some of those Tex Murphy games and checking out, the FMV ones particularly, not the early point-and-click adventure ones. There are like 4 of them or 5 of them. I was maybe even thinking about going into that latest one, which I had to have checked out at Giant Bomb at some point.
Is that like a late period release, like a newer one?
It was like not that long. It was like 5 years ago.
Oh, wow,
Pandora something.
I will say Under a Killing Moon was like infamous at the time for like melting your computer. Like was one of those games like a Wing Commander 3 or something where it's like, you probably don't have the hardware to run this.
Can't decode that kind of video. We're going to check that out tomorrow with Abby. And then Friday, we are back to Darkseid 2, one of the weirder point-and-click adventure games that maybe I have seen in a long time, and I've seen many.
It's something, man. It's something.
It's definitely something where what's going to happen to Mike? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to Mike. And then, like I said before, then we are off on Monday through Friday, but you'll get your podcasts in the podcast feed, so make sure you're checking those. And then, Alex, you're out, and Brad and I will be holding down the fort for that week after that. So looking forward to that. Should be fun. We got to see if we can get some folks together to play that content warning game. Really want to check that one out. I think it's still doing all right. People haven't abandoned it quite yet.
No, not yet.
I don't know that much about it. I want to be surprised by it, so I want to see that. Maybe that the week after we come back, we will check that out. And then, Alex, you and I have been playing Cyberpunk. You can check out the latest Cyberpunk up on the YouTube, the archive, where we are barreling through the Phantom Liberty DLC and some of that main story. And I'm cyber ninjaing all over the place. At some point, I cross some threshold where, man, I'm just dicing them up. I'm good. Turn invisible.
You're maybe too powerful. I'm just going to say it.
Never too powerful. I can slow down time, turn invisible, and just shred people. It's good. It's good. Trade out Brad. I traded out my knife arms for gorilla arms. So now I can rip open doors.
Great.
Nice.
Because I wind up using a sword all the time. I never use my knife arms. Anyway, that's over on the Cyberpunk stuff. You can check that out. Thanks again to everybody for supporting us. Thank you, Alex Navarro.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad Shoemaker.
Thank you.
And we'll be back soon. we'll be back with a live one the week after next. See you, everybody.